welcome to FNCS Europe. It's Major 3 and it's Group 3, which means it's the last day of the group stage. And to talk through it, I have Mini Miner and Levin 2K. Mini Miner, I never come to you first, so don't let me down. How are you feeling about the sort of second to last chance for our teams today to qualify for the major finals?
Yeah, super excited. I mean, looking at the group, looking at the caliber of lobby that we've got today, super excited to see how they can perform. I'm sure we'll have some upsets, some spanners in the works, if you like, but it's going to be great to watch.
It's also going to be quite an emotional last chance qualifier, 11, next week.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it will be. Yeah, the FNCS year comes to an end for the majority of competitors, so I'm sure they'll be feeling the pressure a bit.
Yeah, talking of pressure, Levin, you've made us a couple of lists. Actually kicking off with 5 trios you don't think are going to be feeling the pressure today. Talk us through it.
Yeah, look, everybody feels pressure in different ways, and when I speak to a lot of players, they always tell me there's no pressure. But these are 5 players today who I think shouldn't be feeling much pressure, right? Where they'll end up placing, whether they win games or win on consistency, that's yet to be seen. But at the top there, Vico, Veno, Flixie, Mini, these guys can't be feeling much pressure coming into today. I know, look, if we had been doing FNCS earlier in this season, right off the back of that Star Wars season, I'm sure maybe the conversation might be a bit different. But look, things have been all right for them this season. They've got an uncontested drop in what is the strongest EU group, but I think a group that they'll look at and go, yeah, we got this, man. It's light work.
Yeah, they have to think that they're a lot more sort of experienced than the rest of the lobby. And likewise, Queasy, Swizzy, Moustache is the team that we know can perform at this level. You know, we know all about their high ground prowess, the way they can pick up victory royales. They have a great drop spot as well today. So realistically, already qualified for globals, shouldn't be feeling too much pressure at this stage.
And, you know, Queasy and them were going to be contested today, and that's changed, and we'll talk about that more, but that team left, right? So that even takes even more pressure off. Like, they're so scared of us, they don't even want it with us. I got Pink Nebs and Kira on here. I spoke to Pink, and he said he weren't feeling pressure. And Frankie, you know, I know you love Pink. You and Pink go back a long time. And so, you know how Pink is. He's got that suave about him. He's got that cool composure about him. These guys have been playing well this season, working with Coach Harry. I think they'll be feeling good. I wanted to throw a spanner in the works there. I know some people be looking at iFrozy and thinking, oh, look, what are you cooking up here, you know? These guys got a lot of experience on their side. I think a lot of people don't realize when you look at this lobby, yes, there's a lot of talent in here, but these guys all have played in major finals. This year, they've looked strong in group stages as well. Obviously, the teams are a bit different, but I actually think, you know, uncontested today, there's not going to be much pressure on these guys, and I think they could be a sneaky team to make it. And I wanted to throw in a spanner in the works, not the same names, but then I had to wrap it up with Cammy's trio, man. Look, they're one of the best teams in the lobby. They've been playing great this season. They can't be feeling pressure today, man. They're too good.
Minima, are you agreeing?
Yeah, I'm agreeing. I mean, we saw SETI qualify through yesterday. These guys are actually landing at the exact same spot as well. Also, coached by Blaha as well. So we saw that work out very well for them yesterday. I'm sure they'll be feeling a little bit of pressure, but not too much because they'll be, you know, looking in a good spot.
Well, let's look at Levin's list for trios who will be feeling the pressure, because you've done something a bit weird here, and I really need you to explain yourself to me right now, Mr. Levin 2K.
I know I just said they won't be feeling pressure, but I lied. Yeah, I lied. Because I dropped Kari and Cammy. Yes, they're a very good team, but we all watched Group 2 yesterday. SETI was putting on a show, and I mean, I'm looking at Cammy. The lights are on him. The lights are brighter than they've ever been. Everything these two do now, from here on out, will just be a comparison. And even though I'm sure they won't want a rivalry, I'm forcing the rivalry. Cammy, I need to see you step up today. I'm putting the pressure. He might not feel it, but I'm putting the pressure on him today.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Cammy's played with a lot of Polish players as well. He's used to playing with Polish players, speaking Polish in trios. Now he's dropping an iDrop into the trio as well. So, of course, I think that's going to add a little bit of pressure for him as well. Just that continuation of playing, but also in a different way now, speaking English, I imagine, in that trio. So definitely going to throw a little bit of a spanner in the works as well.
Yeah, and I got 4 more names on here, right? And 2 of them are paired each, you know, for different reasons. So obviously we got Mr. Savage's trio, we got Mongrel's trio. They're 2 teams who are always going to have loads of pressure on them, right? When you got all the fans supporting you, everyone's backing you, everyone's looking at you as their main form of entertainment. What can you guys do? Can you deliver for us? And as much as I'm sure, you know, these guys are used to the pressure, especially in the case of Mongrel and Mr. Savage, they've dealt with it for so many years. That external pressure from the communities and the fans, and, you know, I saw some rumblings about whether or not Reason was grinding yesterday. I don't want to get into too much in that stuff, right? But there's going to be external pressure there. And then the other pair, the 2 French trios that I had on there, hey, look, Global Championships is coming up. Leon, the French teams, they need to make it. They want to make it. They have all of their country backing them to make it, so they can root for them. I think both those teams will be feeling pressure, Minnie.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that is the ultimate pressure, right? Of course, all these French players, they want to make global championships, but of course, you have to get to those major finals first. I think these sort of stages of competition can be a bit of a trip up for some of those teams that are looking a little bit too far ahead, because if you're a French team, you'd be thinking, I can't wait to walk out in front of that crowd, but you have to get to the major finals first in order to even get a chance to qualify there.
So last weekend on the North American broadcast, they were talking about Demon's Dojo being the strongest PIY on the map so far. So it's no wonder that earlier this season, we saw Podesai's trio going toe-to-toe with Queasy's trio to try and take it on. However, Podesai's getting serious about his chances of making it to Leon, and he's decided to give up the spot. Minnie, why is this such a strong spot for Queasy? Why has he earned it?
Yeah, well, it's one of the best drop spots on the map. Of course, you know, there's so much loot here. This is where that sort of contest station was taking place. You have that guaranteed legendary chest at the top of the POI. You also have those other chests in the surrounding area as well. So we often saw teams just sort of go for a full 50-50 11, and it made for some really interesting off-spawn battles. But Queasy in particular, the way that those guys are able to play this drop spot, their drops seem to be always on point, and the key element is that little ledge right there, making sure to get over it as smoothly as possible. And I think there's not many better teams in the region, or indeed in the world, that are as good as Swizzy, Moustache, and Queasy at this drop spot.
Yeah, man, these guys run Demon's Domain for how much longer, we don't know. I know we all saw that trailer, but look, these guys, they scared off the Frenchies. Those guys, they don't want it with them here. And I expect these guys to come through with how strong they are. I don't think there'll be anyone that, while they're still in the lobby, will contest them at this POI. I think they should be able to make it through quick. I expect these guys to get a strong win here, and hopefully an early one. I feel like Queasy this year, he always gives us these early wins in these group stages.
Well, let's take a look at where Podesai is headed off to. He's just headed slightly northeast on the map to Rolling Blossom Hill. So you never know, Rotate might come in at some point. And Podesai, you know, he's a fragging IGL. So I was very surprised, actually, that he didn't decide to stay and fight, Minnie. Or Levin, sorry.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, there's plenty of reasons we can talk about as to why they would want to leave, right? And Minnie, you sort of hinted at it. There's a good chance they might get to still land at Demon's Domain with how these things might play out. But either way, playing out of Rolling Blossom Split is a strong spot. Obviously, it's not as strong maybe as it was in previous seasons, but it's still a spot that you very much can qualify from. For you know, usually a team like this will dip from a spot and they just end up in the slums, like nothing, and you're like, oh yeah, they're cooked. You might as well have just conned at that point. But these guys still could, you know, qualify at that spot, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a good drop spot, and as you mentioned, Queasy might pick up a victory round, so they might go on over there, and it's one of those drop spots where it can sort of go all wrong for Podesai's team. They haven't been performing that well there so far. I think Queasy's team were just absolutely rolling them in scrims when I was taking a look at them, so I think it makes the most sense for them to switch drop spots. And of course, it's only a 5-game format, so you need to make every single game count.
Minimana, do you think the rest of the lobby is looking at Demon's Domain and going, okay, right, Queasy gets a VR, we could go there? Or do you think they're hyper aware that Podesai is probably going to have first dibs?
Well, I think you look at the team like Queasy, you expect them to get a victory. I almost expect them to win game 1, to be honest. So I'm really expecting Demon's Domain to be open after that first game. So Podesai's team might go on over there, but at that point, you're kind of opening up a can of worms. Who's going to come on through into that POI? There is a bit of a contestation to the west as well, so it might actually benefit those teams if there are going to be some contestations there.
Yeah, they're getting that early dub, man. They're getting that early. I reckon they're getting that early dub, jumping straight off Fortnite. I was with Queasy and Swizzy in the court the other day. They were jumping on Rocket League, you know. So I'm sure these guys will be one and done and get it over with.
Oh my gosh, Levin's name dropping everything. I can only name drop Levin's mum. Let's head over to actually 2 names I'm going to drop for you right now. Taco and Takaya. What are your thoughts on Greek?
My thoughts are that this group is incredibly stacked. I mean, we have more FNCS wins in this group than Group 1 and 2 combined. So you know that it's going to be a good one, and these players are going to have to lock in, Taco.
Yeah, if we've ever been looking at a competitive, stacked lobby, this is certainly one to lead us into the actual Major 3 Grand Finals. And more importantly still, Takata, all of these teams here today, nobody wants to stake their bets on making it through the last chance qualifier. So the sooner the better. You want to get the job done sometime throughout these 5 lobbies.
That you do. I mean, there's only 3 spots up for grabs through the last chance qualifier. So if you're going to qualify, you want to get it done in this group. The issue is, it's literally the most difficult group to qualify from. You have 5 spots through consistency, 5 through the VRs, so it's going to be tough to see who ends up taking that spot. Remember though, like they were mentioning a second ago, if you end up getting that victory royale, that spot is now open. And I think For9 was that tweeted, he said, I'm gonna go wherever the game 1 winners were landing. And if that was Demon's Domain and it was Queasy, we might get a Podesai contestation. I don't know what's gonna happen, Taco. What do you think?
Regardless of whatever happens, with spots opening up, teams looking to move in, I know one thing's for sure, Takada, that's Frankie, Levin, and Mini probably had the solution.
Thank you very much, guys. Now, you are all watching this going, I've seen the lobby list for tonight. Mongrel and Savage on it. We mentioned them earlier, but of course we're going to talk about them in more detail because we like to give the people what they want here on FNCS Europe. So let's talk about Mongrel's trio. They qualified 39th in the play-ins mini minor. And I think that this is a great all-rounder team. I mean, he's got some incredible teammates here, Mongrel.
Yeah, definitely a really nice sort of comeback from last major when, remember, Mongrel didn't actually make it into the group stage, didn't make it out of the play-ins and couldn't, of course, qualify through the last chance major. So the fact that they're actually here is a really nice improvement, Levin. Also teaming up with Kaito and Haijo, who are a very, very solid team last major as well, or last year as well when they were playing in duos. So I'm expecting big things from this team. Just the contestation might be the question mark for me.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they fared. You know, I know they've had their struggles when, you know, fighting off Spawn so far, but, you know, when I think back to last year, you know, Kaito and Hydro both showed, you know, really strong off-spawn fundamentals when I analyzed some of their games. So hopefully, you know, they've still got that here in trios and hopefully they can make things work. And again, it's the nature of groups. They might only have to con each other for 1 or 2 games and then actually you dip off somewhere else or that team dips and you actually have your spot uncon. So I'm hopeful for these guys' chances today.
Well, Levin, we've got to talk about Savage then, because he's got himself a very strong-looking team in Reason and Chap. I know they haven't necessarily had the strongest results individually, but together, surely they're a powerful unit.
Well, absolutely. I mean, look at the caliber, the names we're talking about here, Mini Minor. These are 3 players who not just should be making it through this group with ease, uncontested today, but these are 3 players who, they better be getting ready to make a push for the global championships, right? I think they absolutely should be there and we all want to see them there. It's just about delivering, right? They've showed they all got the ability. They've showed that when things are flowing, when everyone's on the same page, you know, they can play some great Fortnite together. It's just about making sure that they are all on that same page, right?
Yeah. So much talent in this team, so much talent, and for good reason, so many eyes on them as well. And I think this is where this team might have a little bit of a unique problem, if you like, where they have so many fans, so many eyes on them with Reason and Mr. Savage in particular, that it can kind of turn into a little bit of a toxic environment sometimes when things aren't going too well. You have people on the internet, on socials, in streams that are saying, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And I think that can sort of pile on them a little bit. And I think that's why we do see them struggle in those sort of circumstances. If they can avoid that sort of headspace today and avoid that for the rest of the season, I'm expecting big things because, as you mentioned, look at the names on the screen. It's unbelievable.
Well, let's bring up Mongrel and Savage on the screen and take a look at their individual stats. Levin, who do you think is going to qualify out of these 2 tonight, or do you think there's space for both?
I'd hope there's space for both, but I would heavily lean towards Mr. Savage's trio, right? I think the expectations for both trios are just very different, right? Like I said there, Mr. Savage's trio, the expectations got to be they got to make a push for global championships to qualify there. I don't think a lot of people are looking at Mongrel, Hydro, and Kaito in that same light. Doesn't mean that they can't do it, but I think, you know, expectations-wise, a successful season for Mongrel's trio probably looks like we make it through this round, get into the major finals, and actually just show a good account for ourselves. Maybe get a win or 2 in the major finals in that lobby. And so, you know, overall, I'm leaning towards Mr. Savage's trio, but I hope both of them can show something good today.
Mini?
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, Mongrel, I think they're a team that do need to make their games count today. I mentioned they're contested off spawn, they're a pump power, so if they do make 1 or 2 of those off spawns count, it's going to need to be a win because they're not going to be able to find that consistency there. Things can change, of course. We don't know how it's going to play out, who's going to go where, but I think if it's going to be if it's going to be one or the other, I think it's going to be more likely to be Mr. Savage, but Mongrel can definitely pick up a win.
There's so many really strong trios and names in the lobby tonight that we are expecting to see in the Major 3 finals, but there's so many new names as well. I'm just wondering, Levin, do you think we're going to see any surprises today?
Ooh, there's so many teams I like, right? So many teams I like in this lobby. I mentioned Froze is a trio who could surprise some people. I think Trex's trio is also quite good as well. They could come through and maybe do something. Again, this is the heat of EU, right? This is the one I think a lot of people got their eyes on. So many teams that can make it, and I think there'll be a disappointment or 2 here. There just has to be.
always delivers. These groups, they never disappoint, always exciting.
Oh, I can't wait to see what's going to happen. 5 games until we have 10 names going through to next weekend's Major 3 finals. Let's head back to Taco and to Carter and board the battle bus.
The hour is upon us. Game 1 set, almost ready to kick things off for the day here to Carter.
All right, chat, let's get ready. We're getting ready to run that Game 1 for Major 3 finals. Last match for the Major 3s. Last 5 matches for the Major 3s for EU. Let's hang out. Let's enjoy. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and alert button. Oh, and also, while you're on Fortnite, make sure y'all use the supporter creator code TKHDGAMES.
Good news is you don't have to wait long. This is going to be a fun one. I'm incredibly excited to see how today pans out. It's going to be tough for a lot of these trios, but it just makes it that much more exciting. Like they were mentioning on the desk, Demon's Domain looked like it was potentially going to be contested, but it should be on-con for Queasy this time around. However, there will still be some contestations, and we won't have to wait long to see how they pan out.
It's almost weird to think about Queasy being uncontested for once. Marvick probably happy, though, to be getting the better end of this exchange here at Canyon Crossing. Some very early action, and having that initial eliminations, always good to just put the odds in your favor. Granted, that is going to leave Hammy and Kavik in a bit of a precarious situation here at Takata. They got to be really careful. They could just look to try and fully bail out from Canyon, but they're sticking around. They still feel like they might be able to get something going here.
The problem with Canyon Crossing, as another player is going to go down clean in a 3v1 and looking like it's only a matter of time, but for ABC, the good news is if you're able to finish the engagements quickly, it's ideal, because like I was mentioning previously, Canyon Crossing is in between 2 elevations, basically. It's kind of like in the middle of this river, so if you do end up getting third-partied, you're not going to have that positional advantage, so it's good to finish them up quickly. Taking a look at Mongrel now, having both Mongrel's trio and Savage's trio in the lobby is going to make for some interesting moments, as now Pump Power. In terms of positioning, Mongrel's trio currently has the better spot, but without any picks yet, it's still a 3v3.
Without any Mads, Keto might have to fall back here just to have a better fighting odds later on. Mongrel, though, this is a huge fan favorite, and Levin's already kind of
Mongrel! We got Mongrel. We got A-Stack. Lobby tonight, y'all.
But I think it extends to the rest of his team, because for Hydra and Keto as well, they're also looking to have that resurfacing into the competitive conversation. They're all veterans, but they've been outside of that landscape for a bit. Moneymaker and Tidy have a whole slew of problems on their hands here, though. Lost for 9, but might still be able to turn things back around. Moneymaker, though, he's going to be knocked. It's going to leave Tidy in a one-man hold-it-down situation, but Peshka, Fury, both just trying to take their separate angles. They want to go for the double revive on Luka, but Tidy just looking to break through. He knows how incredibly low everybody is, but has to finally pressure, just challenge outright. A couple of seriously harmed players here in Fury, but the third party indirect, Peshka wrapping around too. It's just unfavorable odds.
Good job from Peshka, though. He saw that both of his teammates were, I believe, under 30 HP, so you want to kind of trade off damage in these engagements when you have the player advantage. If you do have that bit of shield, you don't want your teammates taking those peaks when they're just one shot away from getting knocked. So good job to Peshka for playing a bit aggro there and taking that fight while his teammates didn't have to take any risks. But for Moneymaker and his trio, I mean, I talked about it earlier. I think For9 tweeted that wherever the Game 1 winners were landing, it's where they're going to drop next. But look at this. Titans got me scared for a second, thinking they were going to go down, but I'm clearly mistaken, as Veno just was dropped down low. But if you look, they already have 3 eliminations, not a single problem in sight.
It could have been a serious issue if Veno had actually been knocked, but even then, Vico and Flixie seemingly full control of that situation. You know, a chance to kind of watch back where things went south, though, for Mappy's team, and sure enough, Cheat and Mappy, they just got overwhelmed from two separate directions. Just really good supportive measures there out of Vico and Flixie once they recognized that Venom was in a little spot of trouble there. But nothing to really delay, and that's something else that I think a lot of people are kind of keeping an eye out here for on Chap, Savage, and Reason is just having a smooth and consistent early game.
And that they should be able to, being uncontested at Resistance. The only thing they really have to focus on is, you know, their route. But the good part about being uncontested is if you put in enough practice, which they definitely have, you should be able to have an efficient route for not only Surge, but also loot and hard materials as the day goes on. You can see people already starting to kind of make their little Surge ramps on that side of the map. So don't think too much fighting will go on, but definitely shots back and forth.
Big stockpiling of resources taking place right now, though, on the bridge here at Shining Span. Cammy, Ari, and iDrop are definitely aiming to just secure that grand finals appearance. They need it more than ever, Cammy especially, so keep your eyes peeled for what they get up to. I'd imagine that they're aiming to get it done as quickly as possible. Nebs, Pink, and Kiro across the map. They're just trying to continue stringing together some additional Surge damage. Already got one elimination there for Kiro. So even with having those early encounters, teams are going to constantly stay on the hunt there for that additional damage to Kata. We've seen how high those numbers can actually scale.
Oh yeah, I'm wondering who that elimination was. Like, once again, similar to the previous major, they have Akira, Kurama, and Werix right south of them, so if they didn't get 3 full elims, maybe it was just some early game shots back and forth, but we talked about it earlier. Demon's Domain, Queasy, Murstache, and Swizzy. No problem in the early game. Best POI for themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them take home game 1. We know how this trio likes to play.
I think what I'm really going to keep an eye out for in the end game is how height is actually managed and who actually takes over, because we've seen a lot of teams kind of trying to put that emphasis onto the high ground plays, but it's hard to maintain throughout the end game. Cringe, just kind of walking it down onto Garcia. That just, you know that there's strength in numbers, and for a lot of these teams that are just kind of roaming, doing soft roamings at that, not really wanting to stray too far away from who they're playing with, you always want to make sure that you can have that defensive backup just in case.
Talking about backups, the backup drop spot from Podosai and his trio here by Rolling Blossoms Farm. In terms of loot, could be better, but at least, you know, they had a safe off spawn, and if Queasy does end up qualifying with this trio at Demon's Domain, that's the trio that you'd expect to go take that drop spot from them. As we look on over to the island, Floki looking like they're kind of battling for it. 3 limbs already, though. Yeah, not too much battling.
Bit of a scrappy start there, though, for Floki's team. That's evident just in the elims that they've already built up. But top of Rhode Island, a lot of teams now in second zone just trying to really settle into some of their surge bases. We've seen how impactful the current competitive meta is, and so many teams just looking to keep that surge threshold going strong, and it starts just with basing up into points of elevation. But that does remove, I think, a lot of the early game pressure from some teams, not wanting to just completely steam things down. They know that they can take their time getting those tags from a distance.
Shixie, though, a little scared here with the full trio roaming on in. Patience is key, but the issue is the more time you spend, the more difficult you're going to make your game. But when you're a solo, when you have 7 builds, you really don't have a lot of options other than trying to stay up and eventually getting the reboot in. So, you know, hopefully this trio eventually kind of continues with the rotation, or Shixie finds an exit. But for now, this is not an ideal position.
Well, Volde has 1 elimination. Not sold that they were chasing Shixie to this position here at Pomp, or just waiting to see if they had spotted out a solo, maybe looking to play for that reboot opportunity. I'll have to check back in, though, to see whether or not he actually pulls it off. Ivan, Ifrozi, and Artiste playing a little bit of that early storm tick damage. But a couple of missed grenades. Ivan's not really too stressed right now. It's a lot of focus on just the positional rotation.
Yeah. Levin was rooting this trio on, and I'm all about that wave. They've got the experience despite the trio switch up. We'll see how they're able to manage here. Oh.
I think a key thing to keep in mind for a lot of these teams, too, is that some of these teams were initially preparing as if they were going to be contested in today's lobbies, Takata. And so with some of the last-minute adjustments that kind of took place, for most of these teams, I mean, we know that surge basing is a very prominent way to stack your surge, but then you have teams like Vico, Benno, and Flixie who just seem like they are constantly hunting down the opposition, and it's just a good old-fashioned box fight to get as much surge as they need.
Yeah. The good news about Vico, Benno, Flixie is, sometimes you'll be box fighting just for a bit of damage, but this is a trio that likes to commit to their fights. The issue is when Benno gets cracked now, his teammates are put into a bit of panic if they're forced to play a bit more defensive, allow their teammate to recuperate that HP and make sure they continue applying that pressure onto their opponents. But as Flixie's now been cracked as well, they're going to have to be careful.
Vico's been here like a million times before. Just doing everything he can to try and close in, but he's going to get that first elimination credit onto Flixie. Venno still relatively hurt, hasn't had a chance to fully pull back all of his white HP healed. But it's going to be the immediate disengage. Vico, Venno, they know that Ken, Vampy, Dai, this is a trio that's holding their own, and they are chasing them down. As soon as they got that initial elimination onto Flixie, they wanted more. They knew this is their best chance to take out one of the leading powerhouses in this lobby. And that's just one less team to worry about in an endgame. But Vico, never count him out. This is a dangerous window that he's got opened up here. And Ken, if he's not careful, it might be on the receiving end of it, but not a big enough tag there. Vico can't get through, but he knows Ken fully cracked. He wants to try and break through. Another teammate getting brought so incredibly low, and Venno just crouching overhead, but Chapin, Reason, Savage, they actually might step in to the fight, and Venno wants no part of this. He's just trying to create even more space.
Well, I think the job has been done, though, especially when you're playing as a duo. You have a whole trio aggressive.
Holy moly, chat. We got a stack 3v3v3 going on right now.
Opponents to realize, okay, maybe we shouldn't commit to this. We've already used so many mats. We've already used so many heals. Let's just, take our elimination and go from there. But like you said, they might be continuing on the hunt as they see that Savage trio has now gone away. Quick replay on what actually happened to Flixie. He was a bit split up, but with Dahi going right through the box, little blurriness from the med mist ended with Flixie's demise.
A little bit of a double-edged sword there with the visual problems. Sometimes it'd be hard to keep track of where everybody's at in those Memphis grenades. Nice job from Clownski, though. Some great tags there. Podosai, art skill, nice squeeze. Just trying to keep a low profile now, fully aware of the fact that there's a surge base not too far from us, and they don't want to find themselves getting pinned down in the same spot. Very easy for congestion to start pooling up on that southern section of the map too, so teams definitely trying to keep the flow as loose as they can right now.
Looks like Reboot came through from Vico, Venno, Flixie, but not a lot of shields to spare, as they're gonna have to fully commit to an engagement here potentially. Superman Sprite coming to use. Great for destroying builds, not as great for actually eliminating players, but as long as you're able to kind of burn your opponent's mats, even just open up angles for shots. Issue is now, looking at the zone here, they do have enough time. It's not ticking enough to be incredibly dangerous, but at the same time, you don't really want to take these risks inside of the zone, but even if they don't, it's going to be a tough match to come back from. Now behind on loot, behind on mats, behind on positioning. But if any trio is going to be able to make a comeback from it, it's going to be Vico, Veno, Flixie. They're going to take those fights, and all it really need is one good one.
There are so many teams hovering Supernova Academy, and you have to remember, they all still need to make the same rotate into zone. But this delay now, it could prove to be extremely problematic for Veno, Vico, and Flixie, even with the reboot success on Flixie.
How's everybody doing today, chat? What y'all doing this weekend?
Than what they ever would have initially anticipated. Takata, that could definitely play a big part. Storm sickness is really what I'm thinking about as the game goes later and later and drags on, because they're likely going to have to keep playing from those storm positions, just working on recovering those early assets they lost.
Depending on what position your trio's in, it can be better or worse to kind of play purposefully on that congested side, where you can kind of be on the defensive end of all the trios like Vico, Veno, Flixie rotating in late. However, on the contrary, if you already got your surge early on, didn't have too many problems, then you can go deeper into zone. But for Prism here, it looks like they are low on hard materials, so something might not have went their way earlier on, but we'll see how they're able to play it.
Following back up with Nebs, Pink, and Kiro in their journey through this first lobby, tagged up a bit, and as they make their entrance towards edge of zone here at Utopia City, they've got a good amount of materials though, Takata. It's largely just about setting up, clearing out space. They want to be the ones kind of holding teams on the edge of zone, but they know with that surge base not too far away from Mongrel, Keto, and Igel, head on a swivel type of behavior. You can never really let up your guard. Other teams, meanwhile, stuck inside the bases they've created here. A little bit north of Foxy Flood.
All right, Alex, sounds like fun.
Mystic.
How you been doing?
Casper taking a good chunk of the lobby focus right now, but net neutral with their position right now.
Ooh.
Need to recover some shield. Yeah, this is bad news bears right now for Vico and Veno.
Good shots though from Vico. It's going to be enough to get Reason to play a little safer. Issue is, with more than enough heals now, once again, the 3v2. They've done enough damage, but they're on the hunt for loot. If you look at Veno's materials, it's only a matter of time. I don't know if this is a trio you want to be fighting, but this actually might be a golden opportunity. If an engagement begins, it could be a good opportunity to join the party.
They're spending so much time, they have to win this fight now. Shaco's gonna get knocked. Storm Surge ticks clearly the issue. That's the big reason why Savage's team is being so heavily aggressed into. But now, Veno, Vico, recognizing that the third party's there, they want to see if they can turn this in their favor. Potentially even the odds here if they can find a knock onto one of the members from Savage's trio. But Savage closing in onto Cora, not going to allow that opportunity to go to waste. And with 3 eliminations intact, Reason, Chap, Savage, they're just going to take their goods and pretty much bounce. They don't have a reason to stick around for Veno and Vico.
Yeah, their main focus now is rotating to zone safely while conserving as many heals and materials as possible. It's going to be all about positioning. Quite a difficult rotate with the amount of trios that are already going to be at the zone. And if you have people like Peshka and his trio kind of looking at you, taking shots, it's going to be even worse. Sometimes you can purposefully take some shots of trios in front of you to force them to build, and then use those materials that they already placed to kind of follow them into zone. But
Molly already 1,200 above the storm damage threshold.
And use a bit of environmental cover to make it into zone.
Smart truce there. It's like kind of the unspoken one on those rotates. The reason being, though, is that a lot of traffic really picking up around the edge of zone, and Pink's team, bit of trouble here, but overhead, it's Atreides, Hano, really feeling the burn right now. They've got to make a decision, and they've got to make it quick. They can't just sit here continuing to tank these Storm Surge ticks. Paul Atreides, the last member from his team, and unless he comes up with an insane shot, Kiro, Nebs, Pink, They could have had that one, but they'd rather focus on the positional
Oh,
rotation.
rotate.
Seasoned competitors, they know better than to get caught up. What's one elimination matter where you can get plenty more if you have a good spot that you're in?
Especially in this portion of the match. Looking from the top-down view, seems like Veno and Vico have made it into the zone, but with 4 HP onto Veno, not too many more materials, 106 above. We know that something has to be done sooner or later. The good news is, though, zone has been pulled, and they'll have a bit more time to plan their next attack.
Oh, Veno and Vico are just doing everything they can to survive right now, Takada. You want to keep a low profile, but they know only 77 above that damage threshold, and more importantly still, they just have to get a refresh. The Siphon, even the hero rank up, would just do volumes for where they are currently at HP-wise. But that opportunity, it's going to be slim. They're not going to have many chances to get open shots onto the competitors in this lobby. They're really just waiting for some of these other teams to get a move on first, but Cammy, Harry, and iDrop elevated themselves and just kind of looking back, trying to keep their composure. Well, they've got a fixated position on height. It's just gonna... Oh man, iDrop just punished immediately, but lucky for him, we are in a landscape where it's a little bit easier to just lobby focus out teams like Veno instead. And it just keeps getting worse, Takada. I feel like the longer we watch...
Oh no, there goes Veno.
There's no defensive measure to take. Storm Surge, everything that could have gone wrong in this one definitely did, but opens the doorway now for another team to try and take over. And Reason, Savage, Chap, big part of the problem for Veno's team this game. Now looking to have a conversion, but Cammy, Harry, iDrop, despite their positioning.
This lobby's so stacked, I don't even know who to pull for, chat.
Looking in terms of height, that 7th to 8th zone is kind of crucial, because if you do end up pulling towards the side of the zone it's moving to, it's going to give you kind of that opportunity to hold on to it. But we've seen time and time again, if you hold on too early, a few unlucky zones, a few double pulls in the furthest direction could be enough to use all your materials up. So a lot of success comes from taking height a bit later on. With Queasy in the lobby though, height is never going to be
Mustache, Queasy, and Swizzy.
207 above, good amount of materials. Looking like they have the opportunity to make a solid endgame performance here.
It's not often you'll see Queasy at eye level with everyone else, but we are just waiting for the doorway to essentially open up here. Mustache, Queasy, Swizzy, Misform gonna start to make their way towards that secondary height position. Keto, Haijo, and Mongrel look as if they're trying to take over the high ground, but with the way that the zone is starting to pull towards the natural elevation here on this mountain span, Haijo, Keto, and Mongrel, they're going to be some first to move towards it thanks to these dash sprites, but at the same time, Takada, they've got to keep an eye out for other teams with the same intentions.
Yeah, Clownski up above, looking to see if they can hold it. This is a perfect zone if it ends up pulling back to the mountains, which it sort of did, so could be a huge opportunity to hold on. 104 above, but now shots are going to be connected through. The issue is for the players down below, you have to plan, even if it doesn't pull towards the mountain, if it's possible that it can pull towards the mountain, you have to be prepared on how you're actually going to rotate that, whether it be mist form, dashes, anything conserved for these more difficult rotates. As Cammy, Chari, and iDrop now, great elevation change, getting closer in.
But not many shields there for Cammy. They're going to need a little bit more to work with. So many teams, though, that are getting trapped inside of these lower layers as the zone just continues pulling up this mountain face.
I see a team going in the tunnel.
Savage and Chap.
If it storm zone sticks off that tunnel to like the left or right, which it is, they're going to have trouble getting out of there. Oof.
They're just going to have to go for the fight. Even with being above on the surge damage threshold, they need a refresh more than anything right now. And iDrop, he's not going to get a chance. He's going to be collected along the way here. And Cammy trying to see if he can resync now with Airy. They're going to use their last dash sprite to refresh, but they are stuck in the lower layers, and there is no way that they're going to get out anytime soon here.
Reason
Savage
went down.
doing what they can to try and stay on an uncontested layer, but a lot of traffic flow surrounding them.
A lot of placement points to be earned in these final moments of the end game, but Cammy is going to be eliminated. Chap and Savage continuing as a duo to stay ahead of the zone. A good amount of materials. They cannot fall down into the hands of
Mustache went down.
Nebs trying to take angles where they can find them as the zone is going to pull back.
But Nebs, Kira, Pink, they're just taking gear. They're
Queasy.
everybody's toes. Queasy in the misform. He's just flying around, hoping that nobody spots out the fact that he doesn't have any builds left.
He doesn't have but one build. Or no, he doesn't. Oh, 111, I mean.
Chap relying on this Memories grenade to do what it can for his HP bar, but dashing every which way. Still hasn't been picked apart. Waiting to see if he can find an opportunity for a possible refresh. A little bit of siphon, anything. And Queasy, same exact mentality. This is feast or famine now.
Zone wasn't pushing as hard as it was. He would have been able to get that refresh.
To build up just one more placement.
Oh.
He might get caught. Can he break through? Every single
Oh, man.
is too exposed. A trio in the lower layer is going to take
Mr. Savage is the only one standing for his team.
stuck in this midway position.
Meanwhile, Clownski and his trio up and above the perfect zone for them to not be contested a single time on height as it keeps just going back and forth on the mountain. Devastating rotation for the players down below, but a miracle for the trio in the clouds. Issue is they are running a bit low on mats, unable to find as many refreshes, but
Nebs low on health.
HP 8 actually in a dream. Hero trying to build above. You cannot get left behind when the zone continues to elevate. But I was talking about it, the high ground retake, it might be coming through, but it seems to be a 1v3 almost, as it's still looking pretty clear.
Quazy has so many chug jugs prepared to play this heal off. Savage just trying to do what he can to stay alive. Has a big shot though for Savage, gonna connect. That's the refresh he needs, but he can't.
Oh, no, and Mr. Savage goes down.
Gets that siphon. Werix now fully dropped as the mountain face starts to fall off here following the zone. Clownski still staying alive, staying ahead, breaking down now, trying to see who these last remaining players are in these lower layers. Scary Sean, Werix.
1v1.
Can they make it? But Gabig's gonna be the last one to drop.
GG's.
Here, and he finds Scary Sean. The connection has been found, and that is everything for our first lobby winners.
What a tough zone to kick off the day.
That was a pretty decent end game right there, chat.
They were able to hold on to that height.
GG's for sure.
Down below, all the players fighting for their life to just stay inside of the zone, but once they closed it out, they were able to secure their spot in the major finals. Congratulations to Clown, Waze, and Gabix for playing it by the book and taking height when it mattered the most.
They were really just one of the first teams, too, to actually commit fully towards height. They had a really good read on how these zone pools were just going to work in their favor. And Takada, it's not an easy job necessarily to keep a firm grasp over the high ground, but when you get the job done in this way, Clownski, Waze, Gabix, we will see you in the Major 3 Grand Finals. But for right now, Frankie, Levin, Minnie, what do you got for us?
Thank you very much, guys. That zone was so punishing. I was thinking, which one would you hate more, the water zone or the mountain? And after watching that, I think you've got to go with mountain on this one, Levin. How amazing was it that Gabix's trio were able to hold onto that high ground so successfully?
Well, I mean, I think the zone's part of why, right? It was the easiest sort of situation for them when the zone is that difficult. When it is that difficult, though, when you have teams and it's pulling back through where it just came from as well, on the mountain, up and down, people investing so much, they are allowed to save so many mats more than what they typically would have. So really, really nice game from them. They did well to take height in the first place, right? So credit to them. But hey, I mean, it's going to be good to see them in the finals. I'll be happy with that one, Minnie.
Yeah, super excited to see them in finals. I think it's a little bit of a surprise. I think we would have expected a little bit of a different team upon height in our very first game. But yeah, very, very treacherous zone for all those down below. But as you mentioned, Levin, it is very, very nice when the zone, I think it was zone 11, zone 10, and even 12, I think, was just pulling all over their pre-existing builds. So they didn't have to waste all those materials. You could sort of see it pulling back. And if you do establish that high ground really early on in these mountainous zones, you often do find a lot of success. So ultimately, it is about who can do that first. And these guys just put themselves themselves in the perfect position. A little bit of a wobble, I guess, because one of them, it was Gabix actually that lost a lot of HP, but they were able to sort of dispatch of that solo high ground take. But ultimately, pretty straightforward stuff from them.
Yeah, that's, you know, regardless of the season, the meta, whatever, like we see wins like that on FNCS all the time, right? Mountain zones like that where you're the early high team and you can just hold it from there on out.
Well, it will be the only game that we see Aways, Gabix and Kansky playing today because they have booked their spot in the Major 3 finals next weekend with that golden ticket victory royale. But after the break, we'll be discussing the rest of the lobby. See you in a bit.
Alright, chat. Don't forget to like the stream. We got 1 more minute left until we get ready to start match 2 for Group 3 of the Major 3 finals. Or, not finals, but to get into the finals. So, y'all hang out, like the chat, hit that subscribe button, and join the TKHD fam. Also, if you are a part of the TKHD fam, you want to move on up in the fam, go check out our memberships.
Welcome back to FNCS. It's Group 3 of Major 3, and we had quite the end game in game number 1, but well done to Clownsky and his trio for making it to the Major 3 finals next weekend. But how did the rest of the lobby fare, guys? I think we should talk about Cammy's trio first of all, and how we felt about their performance. It looked like it was a promising one. They got to the end game, but the lower ground was a bit of a tricky situation for these guys, Miniminer.
Yeah, a little bit tough for them. I think iDrop it was that got a little bit split here and ended up going down. I talked about at the beginning of the show, you know, this sort of chemistry thing where they're speaking different languages, and it's like, I'm not too sure if they've quite understood that yet. I mean, Shari and Cammy were just together, and it kind of seemed like they were just playing as a duo, and sort of iDrop was down there as a solo. Not their ideal performance, but, I mean, they can be consistent, Levin, so it's not too much of a problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about them. I want to give teams some grace on that first game, especially with how those zones pulled. You know, zones like that especially are the ones where like pre-planning becomes, you know, the most important skill, right, in terms of your ability to find success in those. And that's something we typically would attribute to that trio, so hopefully we see them do a bit better next time around.
Well, a trio that we definitely saw making it almost to the bitter end was Pink, Nebs and Kiro as a trio pretty much. And you can see they're in 5th position on the standings. 11, it's good to see these guys looking on form.
Yeah, and they, I think, were a great example of great pre-planning, right? You saw their timings were always really good throughout this endgame where they weren't rotating with the lobby a lot of the time. They were making sure to invest a bit more materials just to give themselves some time to find the refreshes. You see how they're already in that box when that player jumps in, right? All together, the synergy was on point. And I actually didn't see how they went down there, so I'm actually curious to see. I'm sure we'll see it in the highlights, see what ended up happening to them. But I thought it was a well-played game for them. Tough one. Tough situation there when you're climbing up the mountain, trying to squeeze through those awkward cracks. But all in all, I thought it was a solid game, Minnie.
Yeah, really great performance. I think it's, a great sign of a great leadership in terms of an IGL when all the players are all together like they are. They're all finding refreshes together, almost hip to hip there in that end game. So sign of a really well sort of organized and structured team. And even at the end there, Kiro getting a few extra placements can be so beneficial for them.
It was interesting seeing the queasy, Swizzy and Mustache approach to that punishing mountain zone as well, Evan.
Yeah, these guys, look, top team, of course, not the greatest start, but they had some ideas. And I think ultimately this is the beauty of Fortnite. Sometimes you have a great idea, it doesn't quite work. The zone's pulling across the mountain and they actually decide, well, we're going to take the tunnel, right? This is something we see top teams do. It's an idea that we're familiar with. The problem is when you take the tunnel, if it doesn't pull your way, you're going to have to get out somehow, and they're going to try go through the porta potties here, and as they're shanking zone to try and get out, they end up just going down to Storm. It's quite unfortunate. It's, again, a great idea, Mini, but unlucky roll of the dice with the zone.
Yeah, and that's what makes a player like Queasy in an IGL just so prominent in the scene, because he likes to take risks like that, come up with new interesting strategies that people don't understand. I think there was a bit of a problem for them because only one person can use that porta potty at a time. They couldn't all jump in it at the same time, so they had to wait inside of that storm and try and tank it, try and get that timing right with the med kit. Didn't work out here in game number 1, but if there's any team that I'm concerned about after a less than ideal game 1, these guys are probably at the bottom of that list.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is, like, if it does work out, imagine zone pulls across the mountain, they go through the tunnel, they save all those mats, and then they win the game. We're all sat here going, Queasy, go IGL, oh my god.
Mr. Savage is in 6th.
It happens sometimes, unfortunate there.
Well, it does mean we get to see the Giga Brain playing at least another game tonight, and we also get to see Mr. Savage in the top 10, Mini Miner.
Yeah, nice start from them. I know Mr. Savage there was sort of clutching up at the end. It was a little bit of a duo clutch from both of Chap and Savage, but I was really impressed with how they were sort of fragging out in these layers. Mr. Savage in particular just doing so much damage, and I just love watching Savage, the way that he edits, the way that he moves around in these end games, Levin. Such a pleasure to watch, and he just managed to stick on for so long there. Quite unfortunate, actually. It was this knock right here which I was really impressed with. Unfortunate to go down in the end because that would have been a huge refresh for him.
Well,
honestly, I agree. Sorry, no, spot on, mate. Honestly,
spot on. 200 IQ analysis at least. We're going to head to game number 2 now, so let's head back to Taco and Takata for some 1000 IQ casting.
Thank you. I don't know if we're Mr. Savage. We're missing a bit of IQ, but after that game 1, with how that storm played out, that zone, I'm excited to see how the rest of them pan out. I mean, 5 matches to be played out. It's kind of insane how quickly they go. And the leaderboard is not really what I would have expected after a game 1. But you know, Taco, anything can happen in the first match of the day. So we'll see how it continues to play forward.
Yeah, 5 lobby format. Now's not the time to be getting too pressed over whether or not your favorite team got a strong start. While it's great to start off on the right foot, you never know what can happen coming up next in game 2.
All right, chat. Game 2, Major 3, Group 3 matchups for the Major 3 finals.
Gavix and Clown, we're kind of on the south split by splitting pins. I'm not really quite sure who is going to end up taking that spot, if anyone. But there's still quite a few contested trios on the map. I know in terms of Pump Power, Mongrel did end up getting the upper end of Pump Power off the spawn, but later on they did have some troubles in that late mid to end game. Still got 4 matches to fix it up, but it looks like an uncontested Canyon.
Part of the switch, I mean, off the mini-map drop, it looked as if 2 teams had actually moved in to that southern section of the map that Gabix, Waze, and Clown just won from. And that's going to leave things a little bit more opened up for some of these other teams. I can't fault it, though. If you don't win the first lobby of the off spawn, sometimes it's just better to take your odds elsewhere. And Mongrel, Keto, Hydro, just waiting to see whether or not they get into things against Joshbot's team. But this contest at Pump Power, it could really shift either direction, Takata.
Yeah, we saw how quickly the third party did kind of come into Pump Power, though, so gotta be ready as both trios are kind of getting their own section of the drop. But Sato, on the other hand, right into the action, taking down a full trio right off the bat.
And this is what a lot of teams would definitely want to do if they're looking to have like full control of a hot drop here at Outpost. Sato and Karma, this is a very easy cleanup with their teammate, and 3 eliminations that early on. Takata having the luxury of now just getting to focus exclusively on your loot path and early rotates, maybe even catch some of these other teams off guard and jump in to be the third party issue.
Back on over to Supernova Academy. In the last match, this was a prime location for players rotating through. So for the trio that ends up, well, trios that end up dropping here, it's another situation if you don't want to take too long. So far, I don't see any eliminations, but there definitely has been some tags.
Just not enough for everyone. Eventually, something is going to have to pop off when you have that many teams surrounding each other at Supernova Academy, but a little bit more freedom to move around. Savage, Chap, Reason, Uncon still at Resistance Base. And we saw Savage doing what he could in the last lobby, dealing with that mountain zone. But I like the fact that Pump Power now, Mongrel's team, trying to come to a decisive outcome here. Getting scrappy. Keto knows club is low, but Mongrel lost his shield, so they don't want to jump in just yet. So Joshbot, Shixi, they're going to be able to provide a little bit of backup here now.
Mini-map, you see another 2 players roaming on in. Soon to be a full trio. This is where you have to have someone always kind of looking in their surroundings. I mean, the whole trio should be constantly aware of if that third party's getting close, especially if the fight staggers longer. But Kaido knows one of his opponents is cracked. Just one good shot could be enough for the knock, but they end up getting 3-2-1. Kaido gets knocked down. Mongrel now left as a duo, forced to disengage with 0 mats to his name. Just gotta hope they aren't too quick.
This is easily worst case scenario now for Hydro and Mongrel. Not only are they sent packing in 2 separate directions, but Hydro, he's not even out of the action. He might still get caught up here in the crossfire of this third party intervention. Scary Sean, Voldy forward, taking up a position on the high ground, and we've already scouted at least 1 surge base off in the distance. But that's the least of their worries for right now.
Okay.
They're still trying to see whether or not they can do something about the trio that's still underneath them.
And with the trio underneath them is they've already farmed up all the materials they could. No spare heals, so they're just kind of waiting for the trio outside. If they want to play aggressive, they can go for it, but seems like nothing more is going to happen from this brawl.
Still leaves Mongrel in such an awkward position. Queasy, Swizzy, and Merstache, very familiar sights. Watching them, see if they can establish at least 1 elimination or 2. Mappy continuing to get tagged up here. But Merstache also receiving a few counter blows there. Has to be a bit of a cautious approach. That Rift Island might just be the focal point for both of these teams, though. And so, really just want to see whether or not Queasy decides to commit to making a play for it. It certainly seems like they're trying to set up to play defense there.
Yeah, I mean, with the Medallion and the Mythic AR, it's definitely worth it to take those fights, as now. And in the Storm fight, seems like another potential 3-2-1 third party from Noms and his trio here, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Sometimes you kind of want to wait until the action actually fully begins. A lot of box fights are kind of back and forth, looking for angles, but once that connection hits, and once they start fully pushing in, could be the perfect moment to kind of strike as a third party. You don't want to wait too long, though, because you might run out of time.
Everybody definitely feeling a little bit of pressure here now. It is still the early storm tick damage, so it's nothing to be too panicked over, but the way that Trix is looking around, it's so obvious. They do not feel comfortable, as if this isn't being pretty much watched. It's almost like when you can tell that somebody's looking at you, but like you don't know who just yet. Finally, Karma gonna open up that wall and immediately be reminded why he needs to just burrow back in with the rest of his team. A lot of shield resources being used from both sides currently, and it's the light heals too that both of these teams seemingly in need of. Nom's Mystic slowly, and they are slowly but surely continuing to get this wraparound, but neither side really willing to budge. This has been such a huge stalemate, though, and so much material used from both sides. It's kind of just left both of these teams a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah, I mean, they got their damage, I guess, but at the same time, was it worth what it costed? I mean, as long as both trios are kind of up and running, depending on how the zones pull, they should be able to make it back.
Good pickups, though, from Nebs. Getting a chance to review a little bit of the kill switch revolver accuracy. Nice chase down there thanks to the dashes off of the dash sprite, but Nebs and Kiro, they were on a rescue mission. Bring Pink back into this one. 3 revives pulled off in a singular game. That's a pretty clean record. And now that they've got their IGL Pink back, though, that's bound to extend their opportunities here in game 2.
Yeah, I'm wondering what that's coming from being uncontested. Issue is when you're at a drop spot, like they are at the top corner of the map, and the zone does pull kind of almost southwest, it can be a very difficult rotate, causing you to go down a bit. I drop, Cammy, and Hari doing what they can to play it a bit safe while they look for their tags. It's a plus of Shining Spans, the amount of elevation you can actually get in vision, but when there's not a lot of trios rotating through, it kind of limits your options, and I drop spending a good amount of time in zone here.
I drop maybe even surprised that he hasn't actually spotted anybody from that position, especially because of what you just said, Takata. We saw so many of the zones even throughout yesterday's action head south, but first off, got to see what happens with Veno, Vico, and Flixie. They are still all together, but similar to fashion, the first lobby, it looks like they are just hunting down their Surge, constantly getting tangled up in some of these early engagements, and it's not like they're not trying to pick the fight, and for good measures. Veno, that opening elimination now onto Shixie. 2 intact already for this trio, and they still want to see if they can figure out where the last one's at. But if they manage to stay together, Takata, it definitely makes some magic happen.
Yeah, Shixie can't catch a break. I feel like he's been hiding more than looting in these past 2 matches from those off-spawn fights. Kind of rumbles your whole game from the start. Tricks, Floki, Vox, Edge zone. You can see kind of the mini-map, those 4 different players just eyeballing them as they're going to be forced to rotate up now. Might be even safer just right along the side of the zone instead of going straight in.
Wow. Still haven't found a solid conclusion yet to the action at Pump Power. New teams just keep rolling in, and now it's Akira, Kurama, and Werex up against the likes of Veno, Vico, and Flixie. Both of these teams on kind of opposite ends now on the POI, but Kurama just tunneling overhead, looking down. Maybe thinks that he knows exactly where a couple of members from Veno's team are at, but has no reason to immediately challenge this trio. If they can apply some pressure, sure, they'll go for it, but they also want to make sure that they keep looking back just in case any teams have the intentions of wrapping around for dead side. They don't want to find themselves getting flanked.
Yeah, looking at Kira's loadout too, he had an incredible amount of minis. Looks like they just want to play it safe to maintain their spot on the leaderboard, not risk kind of fighting for Surge. Pink, on the other hand, the quick elim. Oh, whoa. What happened here? Look at the amount of eliminations this trio already has. Third zone. They're getting closer and closer to double digits, and it looks like Mongrel is going to be on the receiving end as Kiro doing what he can to escape. Good news is 6 med kits. Bad news, you even have enough time to pop one. Barely gets it off, and now the hunt begins.
Mongrel's got absolutely nowhere left to run. This is almost like delaying the inevitable. He could play spoiler potentially.
Oh, Mongrel, come on.
Careful. Needs a bigger
Come on, Mongrel. You got this.
tag than what he could be anticipating, but he knows Mongrel just doesn't have any HP. And Kiro, yeah, I like the fact that they're still playing this respectfully. Pink, Nebs, and Kiro are not looking to take any unnecessary risk.
No, and down goes the Mongrel.
Steep HP advantage he had there, even knowing that it's Mongrel all by himself. He still gives his opponent that respect of I don't want to get too reckless and then get knocked, and then it feels silly because we're having to waste heals that we could have just saved.
All right, 8 eliminations now for the trio. Let's hope that they can chill a little bit, okay? Get your mats up. Get your positioning right. Moppy with a quick knock. Looks like they were able to actually fully finish this fight out as Sado. Gonna be a little difficult. Similar situation to what Mongrel is in. Trying to escape as a solo.
Hey, take a look at Stormy right though, up on the mountain range. And he's got Hari, iDrop, Cammy potentially in his sights. So many of our teams though, from these elevated spots, just not wasting any time, Takata. They're looking for the surge tags as often as possible, just remaining proactive with keeping above that threshold.
Bexy and Pixovsky. Looks like they might be hunting or kind of trailing behind Mr. Savage. Trying to figure out based on the minimap where his trio actually is at the moment, but Pico Veno Flixie living up to what they always do in constant fights, constant engagements. The last match kind of put their whole game into shambles after one of them ended up getting eliminated. So hopefully this time around, they can stay up as a trio.
This is where they flourish, though, is in these close-up and personal engagements. But Veno trying to maybe reconsider whether or not he wants to swerve off so aggressively from the rest of his team. Other trios in the area definitely taking note, sending some shots in, and Veno, Flixie, they're not playing the side-by-side. They trust that Vico can hold his own if necessary, but they don't want to, why chance it? Let's just play together. Let's just heal back up. They knew that they were having to also absorb a little bit of damage from that third party. And for Akira and Karama, Werex, this might be the little moment of relief that they were kind of hoping for, because Veno, Vico, Flixie, they're gone.
Yeah, the good news is, too, is if they're able to get damage here, the zone is pulling by Supernova on the north side of the map, so they will have the on-congested side as all the trios will be rotating from the south. So as long as they're able to get enough damage onto these trios, they shouldn't have to put too much risk into their match. Murstache Swizzy, though, left as a duo now on the opposite end of the map, full south. They're going to have to the difficult rotate this time around.
That's definitely a tough break. Losing Queasy and Vox, delaying it just long enough. But for Murstache and Swizzy, certainly a duo that could play for the reboot, even though it's late. They might still be able to pull it off. Mappy and Cheatin also facing a casualty there with Trexer, but despite their teammate having been eliminated, Mappy going strong with those 3 eliminations of his own. Still going to keep their surge threshold intact, that's for sure. Give them much more leeway, even if they choose to just commit to playing this game as a duo.
trios so far, as you'd expect when the level is this high for Group 3. Piksovsky now from trailing to being 860 to above. With the amount of materials they have, honestly, they're in quite a good position. But it seems like they're hungry for more. Right into the box with the pre-edits, and it worked out perfectly as they're able to secure a quick knock now. With just one more opponent trying to do what he can to escape in the misform. Just one quick shot could be enough to finish this one.
Quota doing everything they can to try and see if they can slither away, but that's not going to be the case. Vexy, Debule, and Piksovsky will manage to close in, but Scary Sean just tucked away, hidden. The third party also starting to roll up onto their position. Trouble for the Frenchies now. Podesai, X-Tweez. They don't have Artsville next to them. They're tackling Stormy Radion, Zarb. But even with the numbers against them, Takada, it's not going to be easy to leave this position unless they probably do just have to fight their way through this. They could still even the score here. They've got a good amount of healing resources. Just a couple of different angles, and they might be able, if Stormy Radion or Zarb get a little bit too greedy with how they choose to push this duo, Podesai and X-Tweez could definitely turn this around.
Yeah, the good news is, well, depending on how long they take to rotate, shouldn't be too tough. They'll have a lot of materials to kind of recycle from the trios that have already rotated along that edge zone, but they will be looking back, as this trio is going to be aware of, but seems like right now it is just going to be a waiting game.
One thing I'm definitely noticing is that Stormy Red and Zarb, they didn't have any kind of mobility in their loadouts. So no misforms means that they're going to have to put a pause in that fight with X-Tweez and Podesai. X-Tweez and Podesai, since they are the duo, they are just going to trail towards that backside of zone, but a couple shots, not going to be able to connect there onto Radion. They'll take the scenic route now overhead. Podesai still putting a little bit of pressure onto their back tarp, and Zarb, Radion, a little bit confused now what's happening next, but Podesai bites off more than he can chew. He's gonna get knocked. He has to wait now to see if X-Tweez can make something happen here, but he's shut down. One of our French teams eliminated, but that has alerted the rest of the lobby to exactly where Radion, Stormy Red, and Zarb are rotating through, and since they are the last ones, Veno and Flixie, they don't want to let them through.
Although Podesai got hit with the 1-2, still respect the confidence, committing. They knew they had to go for something there. Meanwhile, Vico and Flixie decided to kind of disengage from that initial fight that we saw previously. Do not want to risk going down once again, and it has caused them to be below, but now they're able to kind of safely secure these tags. And not only that, once again, they end up pulling that 7th zone here. I think what I'd want to do is elevate myself a little more, and then they're going to have all those angles for the trios rotating on in that they can quickly capitalize on.
Despite everything, though, they are under surge. This has been one of our most aggressive teams throughout this secondary match, Takada. We've seen them constantly trying to force these box fight engagements, but nobody wants to play their game. And so now they're stuck 120 below surge, burning through some of their chug jug. Might catch a break here on Stormy Red's team, but Flixie has been knocked. Veno and Vico, they're going to try to play for the double revive. Nobody's going to press them just because they do already have prime real estate for their positioning, but they need tags and they need it now. Every second they spend healing is a second that they miss out on potentially doing damage to somebody else. They've managed to cut the gap. It's only 67 below now. Literally 1 or 2 shots can confirm it, but nobody has enough HP to continue peeking. It's all down to Vico. At this point, Veno only has a handful of seconds left. And Stormy Red's team, they're starting to pull up. They're starting to recognize maybe this is a trio that's actually in a world of trouble here. As Vico, Veno, they don't have a choice. They're going to have to fight now. The threshold has dropped entirely too low. And as a duo even, you need risk for game-winning moments. Veno, he's just sending it against the likes of Stormy Right. Tackling one side of their wall, Vico on the other, but Veno has been knocked. It's all down to the young fragger Vico.
Whoa.
But even this is the odds too heavily stacked against. Maybe Vico can turn this around. He's looking to play spoiler now. but he's not going to get that chance. He's been brought down. Radeon, Stormy Right, very happy to reap the benefits of those loot llamas coming their way.
I had faith. I'm not going to lie. I saw the vision, but Storm Surge did get the best of them. 2 games down. We'll see if Vico Venoflixi can get one of their big games here shortly, but another big trio that we have high expectations for. Queasy, Swizzy, Merstache. This game looking quite well so far.
It's crazy, though, when you really think about some of our veteran teams, and they can still struggle with staying up. And this competitive meta, Kira, Nebs, Pink, they don't have to worry about that, though. 569 above. The only thing that's worrying them right now is where Reason, Savage, and Chap actually choose to go next. Want to keep a firm overview on those teams that were elevated towards hype, but Chap, Reason, Savage, all they want is front side, and they're going to get there no problem, but Reason looks like he only has 1 dash left, and that'll be it for his mobility.
Cammy and Pink, both trios now kind of battling for that elevated position, going back and forth. Stormy Right has to be careful if his teammates have been cracked. They have more than enough damage, but the battle for height continues. The 2 towers fighting against each other. As iDrop said, I'm going to take over. Dashes onto his opponents, claims that high ground, and now, depending on where this 9 zone pulls, could be a miracle. As they do end up getting a pretty good pull here. Will, Pink, Nebs, and Kiro give it up, though.
It's also funny to me the way that iDrop just casually connects there. Ari and Cammy just looking to spray some of these teams underneath them. Pink, Nebs, Giro, they're waiting for the full distractions to come through before they make their move on a height challenge. And in the low ground, Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache have no idea of the players inside the cone. And Kyrie pulls it off, but it's a short-lived victory as he does finally go down. The moment that they pop out of the cone, Merstache, Swizzy, Queasy, probably a bit of a jump scare there for them.
Yeah,
Still find one elimination, though.
Came into play, good little cover. As the Buell is going to be leading the pack front side of zone here. Chap, Reason, Savage, nice shots coming through, forced to pump the Chug Jug, 184 below. They have a bit of time, but with a full trio running on into the box, they have to be careful. As now backing up into their tart. Good use of staying together. Chemistry looking high.
Trying to make a replay refresh in the low ground, though. You don't want to find yourself getting smothered. Kiro, Nebs, Pink, they've been sitting pretty for a hot minute, waiting, letting the lobby kind of thin itself out. Cammy, Hari, iDrop still tarping overhead, and Nebs, he is incredibly hurt. We'll get a little bit of breathing room, though, to use that Chug Jug, but scattering up, down, and all around. Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache have taken their stab at height, but Merstache, he has lost so much HP for it. Cammy, Hari, iDrop, they immediately look to Chop, and one more time, they resurface to the high ground.
What a perfect moment to look for the retake. They saw that the zone pulled far. They were holding on from it to the start. It was the perfect moment to strike, but Cammy, Hari, and iDrop, they were able to hold on. Will they go for a second? Merstache, Queasy, Swizzy going for part 2. Will they end up coming out victorious in this end as iDrop has been knocked? Swizzy gets the elimination. Could be enough to hold on.
That's the real differentiating factor. Merstache was low, but he was never knocked. He was never eliminated. And so now Swizzy, Queasy, Merstache doing what they do best, just suppressing everybody underneath them. Cammy gonna fold to the pressure inside of the lower layers. And from the high ground, Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache stand strong. It doesn't look like anybody's going to have the opportunity to try and tackle them at height. They still want to stay ahead. They still want to keep tabs, keep a hold on this front side high. Reason, Chap, Savage, though, gotten a really nice refresh there onto Karama, but they can't keep it up. Axe-Force, Nathan, Swizzy, Queasy, Merstache, their HP is just melting, but CZP, that elimination, that's a lifeline there for Swizzy.
500 mats back into Swizzy's pocket as now once again they have a chance to go back up. Issue is they need to spend a bit of time to heal, and while they're healing, another full trio misformed to the sky as the battle continues, and just like that it's been overthrown once again as Nathan is forced to drop down. Axe-Force gets knocked down, leaving Nathan as a solo.
High ground has been fully compromised. Chap, Reason, you just got to ball out in these lower layers. Chap going to continue dropping as the zone pulls over the cliff face. Big eliminations, though, for Mustache, just keeping the ball rolling here for his trio. Swizzy also finds another, but Mustache, he's finally going to be collected. Paul Atreides underneath, hiding out. Nathan not going to get the elimination blow there that he needs, but Paul, he takes down Chap. That's disastrous for Savage and Reason. Swizzy still overhead. Doesn't have a whole lot of health, but he has 3 builds, Takata. That might just be enough. He still has the misform, too.
This is the difference from Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache. They went for height 4 different times, and in the end, Swizzy is still up above. Reason with just 8 HP. How is he going to be able to make this happen? Misform now used. Focus, Swizzy. A couple big shots could be all it takes as Nathan looking for an angle. Reason goes down. It's now a 1 versus 1. Swizzy versus Nathan. Initial shot.
Oh, snap! Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache gets the victory royale. Let's get it. Let's go, chat.
Never concerned about whether or not Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache would lock in for the Major 3 Grand Finals, but Takata, the way they do it every single time of manifesting these high ground takes, understanding when to give it up, and that drop towards the lower layers, letting high ground just contest each other, that was everything for them.
This is why this trio has so much respect. And not only do they know when to take height, but they know how to play defensive after. There was 3 different attempts to take high ground there, and it kept getting overthrown. But when it was, they stayed up, they stayed together, they were able to continue getting eliminations. And in that final 4th attempt, in the last moving zone, with Swizzy being the only one left,
He hit him with a yoink, yoink.
fully recover his HP, goes down, doesn't miss a shot, and in the end secures the VR. What a way to close out the second match of the day. Queasy, Mustache, Swizzy qualified for the major finals, and we're headed right back over to the desk to break that one down.
Thank you very much, guys. A victory royale won, plain and simple, by Quizzy, Swizzy, and Quizzy. I always call Queasy and Swizzy Quizzy, and their teammate Mustache. No pressure on these guys whatsoever, Levin.
These guys played it so well. Look, towards the end at the final moment, Swizzy didn't even have to get the final elim, right? But he put in all the hard work earlier, Mini. He was really helping them to hold on to height towards the end there. And I mean, we knew it was going to be one of these earlier games, right? I'm pretty sure it's been game 1 or 2 in every major. Maybe someone will correct me on that. But I feel like it's always these early games that get it done, and in a good fashion as well.
Yeah, slightly different fashion to, I guess, what we'd expect. A little bit more messy, I suppose, than we've seen from Queasy's teams in the past. But I think what can't be taken away from these guys is just how well and how relentless they were at taking a height here, just to try and make it happen. Swizzy in particular. I mean, when things are a little bit chaotic and you have someone like Swizzy, you have someone like Mustache by your side, able just to turn the tides on a fight so quickly, especially with that exotic and mythic in hands. I mean, these are the sort of players that you want clutching up, Levin, and that's exactly what they do best. And ultimately, that's what actually won them the game. It was just these individual fights that they were just winning, and so well played.
Yeah, relentless attempt to just make sure that they were continuing to chop down ADM's trio who was above them. Mustache gets up here. And I mean, look, we knew these guys were going to make it through, so we don't have to sit and act all surprised about it, right? But the one thing I will say is, you know, when we've seen them play height a bunch in previous seasons, a lot of the time it's been earlier height. This was a great example of them being able to bide their time, take it a bit later, which again, just shows the dynamism of these 3 and why they will be a threat next weekend.
Yeah, and I hope now that Swizzy can kick on and keep doing what he does best, because, I mean, we talked about it in Major 1, I think it was Major 1 Mustache just absolutely popping off. Swizzy was very good in that Major as well, but it just shows that these guys can continue to do what they do best all the way through the year.
Well, guys, we need to go to a break because I can't wait to find out who's going to be dropping at Demon's Domain. So let's have a short one and we'll be back soon.
All right, chat. 30 more seconds to get ready to start up on match 3, group 3 of Major 3s. Chat, that is way too many threes, but we'll take it. But let's get ready. Let's go, and let's have some fun. Sit back. Hope y'all are enjoying it. Make sure y'all hit that like, subscribe, and alert button. And make sure y'all going in and subscribing to TK's channel as well. Y'all get not only my point of view now, y'all get his point of view now as well.
You know what I really love to see, boys? I love to see Pink, Nebs, and Kira in the lobby, but I also like to see them with an 8 limbs by the end of the early game, Mini-Miner. An absolutely ridiculous performance by them, and they're looking incredibly consistent right now.
Yeah, really aggressive in the early game, of course, carries them through that end game as well. You can sort of see the surge that they're on, just so much damage at that point, and just gives you that freedom later on in the game for that sort of early game surge investment. We did see a little bit of a reboot earlier on as well, so it wasn't all smooth sailing for them, but for these guys, Levin, this is exactly how we expect them to play, performing well in the end game. Not as good of a game as that first game, but again, if they can just stay consistent, stay inside of these top 10s, they'll no doubt qualify.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Kira's performance in this game, and Kira was popping off even in some of those earlier fights that they had. Some of the angles he was taking, the shots he was hitting. We know he has supreme aim. All three of them do, right? Nebs especially as well, someone we highlight for his top aim. So it's good to see these guys performing individually, all three.
Mr. Savage jumped up fourth, chat. Let's go.
Great to see the end game for Chap, Mr. Savage, and Reason. I know Reason was left to try and clutch it in that 1v1v1, but these guys were sticking together as an impressive unit, Levin.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about these guys is they've always had 2 really good games now, a third and a 6th. And the great thing about these guys, Mini, is that if you can just get them to the end game, individual brilliance will just carry them through and get them so many points, right? You can rely on all 3 of these guys to give you a big clutch. Mr. Savage did in game 1. Reason had to stay alive, for a bit on them zone here in game 2. Next game, if Chap has to do it, he'll do it as well. So all 3 of these guys, just top level players who can just clutch up when needed.
Yeah, any sort of composition of the final 2 here or any solo clutching is just going to do so well. I think just this sort of environment, the low mid ground there, that's exactly where these guys really thrive. Just a bit of a chaos environment for them. And although he wasn't able to get into that first or second place Reason here, they're going to be really happy with that. Another solid performance from them. I think we get to see now how they expect to play, try and play for consistency and try and get over the line by the top 5.
Now, earlier on today, we heard Levin's top 5 feeling the pressure teams, and on that list were 2 of our French trios, Podeside's trio and Akira's trio. If you cast your minds back to Major 1, those 2 were playing together until Podeside decided to replace Akira with Artskill. But now, if you look at number 3, so top of the consistency leaderboard right now, it's Akira, Kurama, and Werix, Levin, and they're playing almost without pressure, it seems.
Yeah, no, handling whatever pressure there might be incredibly well. Kurama is a player I've been a big fan of for quite some time now. And it's for moments like that, right? Big pump shot, point blank, but he's able to connect. I think the big thing with these guys is, again, just the ability to be super aggressive as a trio and make plays happen. Playmaking, I think, is something to attribute to these 3. You see that peak there from Werix, right? Again, we're in a top lobby with a lot of really good Fortnite players. But not a lot of players would go for that peak that Werix made there, right? These are the type of things that can just push you over the edge and sneak you into the major final.
And you wouldn't be doing stuff like that if you were feeling a lot of pressure and you were feeling like you're sort of boxed in, you needed to make these sort of smart plays. They're playing with a lot of freedom right now. I think a lot of that comes from their drop spot as well. They've been landing that drop spot for a very long time. They know it well. They're able to get into these end games consistently. So more of the same when it comes to end game, and their early games looking really consistent as well. So I'm expecting to see these guys in the major finals.
A trio we haven't seen make it into the top 10 yet is Vico, Venno, and Flixie. So I'm hoping maybe we'll see more of them in game number 3, because we are ready to get things underway.
I've got great news for you, Frankie, because with the way that Venno, Vico, and Flixie have been playing so far today, if there's one thing I can expect to see in this match, it's them trying to get active with another trio, possibly even more. But one thing is also for sure here, Takada, Demon's Domain actually up for grabs.
Up for grabs, that's true, and I'm thinking who would take it. I would think, top of my mind, Podeside is the trio that ended up leaving Demon's Domain after, the potential exchange between Quasi, Swizzy, and Merstache, but, time will tell. We'll see who does end up dropping there. On the other hand, they were talking about consistency. Pink's trio, Akira's trio, both looking incredibly consistent, so I'm excited to see if they can keep that up, or maybe if one of them can end up securing that victory royale.
Yeah, ultimately, every single one of these teams is going to be aiming to play for that consistency metric. So now with game
All right, chat.
we'll get to see what happens.
Game 3, chat. Get ready to sit back and enjoy.
Action at Pumped Power continues. It's been a tough early game for all the trios in that surrounding area. Even Supernova Academy has also had a lot of difficulties, not only off spawn, but also during their rotations. With the bus path coming from the west side, be able to see who's kind of landing at Demons if it is going to be multiple trios.
For Pixovsky, Debule, and Vexy, still remaining uncontested at Shogun's Solitude, but it's those fringe positions on the map, Takata. You're always going to be a little bit more isolated at the start. It's all about how you rotate through after the fact. And Podesai, Art Skill, X Squeeze, home sweet home at Demon's Domain. And it doesn't look like anybody else is trying to land with them there.
They are back in business now.
I cancel that.
Wait a second. Hold on.
There's definitely company. Who am I kidding?
No, I think they're flying over, though. So, Demon's Domain should be good. Yeah, they're uncontested now. And look, I'm not trying to put them down here, but they do have 0 points going into this game. So hopefully now, back at their drop spot, they can feel comfortable once again and get a big match here to put them back into the running for that consistency leaderboard. But back at Canyon from uncontested last game to now being contested.
Hammy, Kev, Brady, kind of in a little bit of a chokehold here, and Godoy is actually going to be the one sent running, hiding on the staircase, but Cut Off actually going to be able to turn that one around. Turns out Godoy still had a little bit more firepower to work with than Ratty had expected, but the decisiveness of the fight still very heavily in one direction here. Takata, Hammy's team cleaning things up yet again at Canyon Crossing. It's going to leave Godoy's trio now in that position to decide, do we want to stay contesting this like the teams at Outpost Enclave are also continuing to do?
There's been a lot of success from Sato and his trio at Outpost, and it looks like, once again, another quick 3 eliminations. We've seen, this drop spot get split sometimes, but not this time around. Karma, Sato, and Splick said, we're gonna keep playing aggressive.
And with some of these fights just being ended so quickly, too, that's going to prevent that opportunity for third-party intervention. Mongrel, Hanja, and Keto have pushed off from Pump Power incredibly early, and it looks like they decided to devil on into Utopia City, so lots of teams here, Takata, really trying to take chances. It's just Mongrel's team feels like they can actually handle this fight a little bit better up against Stormy Ride and Radeon, but Czar, close and personal now with Mongrel, not going to get the tag that he needs to apply further pressure, but Stormy Ride still being a nuisance just above. Mongrel, Hydra, Keto, just trying to stay tightly knit. They don't want to leave any one member of their party too exposed.
Yeah, in that 5-game format for the group stage, you are going to have to make changes potentially if you're not seeing success. And it looks like Utopia City is the answer that Mongrel and his trio have in mind. Doing a good job, though. Even if you're playing defensive, when you're doing it inside of a building, you can use that time to farm up on materials and continue prepping yourself for if that fight comes to play. On the other hand, Stormy Ride and his trio are going to have to keep looking around. You have Vox sneaking up, and potentially some other trios wanting to invade.
Vox just seemingly scouting the rest of his team. Good little collection, though, of small shield potions for Kian. This is what Frankie was asking for. And Veno, Vika, Flixie just continue to deliver. Neo, full on, just trying to back it up. See, hope that the rest of his team is going to be able to have enough firepower to actually push back against the likes of Veno's trio, but they are just looking to completely barrel down on this team, driven them all the way to the corner here underneath Foxy Floodgate. And Dinox. Venom staring him down. It's almost crazy that there haven't been some bigger tags just yet, Takada, but Veno's gonna open things up. Neil, shields fully cracked. Veno now trying to travel underneath, see if he can make separate flank approach. Well, Vico just continues to apply pressure from the front side.
All right, honey.
Neo, though, he's got a good read on the encounter here, Takada. He's making sure that he keeps a good read on their back tarp, and Vico, it doesn't matter. He's still just going to break through regardless. Sai tried to do what he could to fight back, but that's going to be one knock. The numbers now panning out to Veno's favor. You trust that Vico continue to kind of close that gap, but Flixie, he's going to let Neophany escape. Only one member out of the party. That this is a tough spot to be in.
It takes a lot of guts to just run through a tunnel that has a lot of builds that can't even be broken. But if any trio is going to do it, it's going to be Vico, Veno, Flixie, and it worked out once again. Now starting off with 4 eliminations. It's looking better than the previous matches. Veno did get cracked, as you can see in this replay, but in the end, they came out on top and now fully healed up again. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if they continue playing a bit aggressive, but looking back at Utopia, the battle continues, but it looks like Floki, Box, and Tricks have kind of joined the action here.
It seems like they got the better end of this exchange, too. 4 eliminations for them. All the while, Mongrel, Hi Joe are the only ones alive from their team, and they're not very healthy, but Ivan, Ortiz, Ifrozi, now in giving Vox's team a little taste of their own medicine. Tricks thought he wasn't aware, but from overhead, that position reveal now, Floki, Vox, Tricks certainly aware of the fact that there is another team lurking on them.
I'm feeling left out now. It seems like we didn't get invited to the meetup at Utopia. Half the lobby did, though. As the fight continues, exchanges back and forth as Hijo is just gonna kind of play it safe here. Hope maybe an opponent lurks through one of these walls, but it's a full trio. Could make it that much more difficult. Floki on the other end, already 4 eliminations, kind of just looking to add to the ticker.
With so many other teams and now jumping into the mix here at Takada at Utopia, Hydro's only option, realistically, is to stay hidden. The moment that he reveals his position, that's a full trio sitting in front of him with Trix, Vox, and Floki. And while he might be able to get the first knock, shouldn't be able to take down a full trio by himself. And Floki, he's going to cut down that opportunity for Zarb. Just running him down, knows that he's got a steep health advantage too. I do like the fact that once they decided the third party, though, they just full commit to the fight.
Yeah, I respect that. Hydra also has 1 build, and he can't farm, because then they're going to know where he is. So he's just kind of stuck here. He can, like, take a shot, place a ramp, and that's about it. Mongrel in a similar position. This is, yeah, just not really the ideal position. Zone's coming to a close. On the bright side is, you know, as zone closes, you can kind of bank on these trios to rotate further into the zone. So hopefully they'll get a bit of time to breathe then. But in the meantime, Akira, Oryx, and Kurama, I believe, leading the pack in terms of consistency on the leaderboard at 141 points. Doing an amazing job to keep it up.
Nothing for Kurama and Warwick specifically. A lot of people kind of riding high on some of their past performances inside of like the solo cashies whenever those are going on. And for this season, having only those 2 divisional cups leading as the large bulk of your practice aside from scrims, I think that it makes it so a lot of these players are kind of in a similar position to Kata, where everybody's had relatively same amount of practice for the most part, and they've gotten a chance to take a peek into what groups 1 and 2 were doing. But there has been a little bit more box fighting, that's for sure, in this group. And I think a huge credit to that is that we are looking at one of the most experienced competitive set lobbies for the group stage. And knowing that so many of these teams are just trying to bank on that victory royale to secure their seat on the battle bus for the Major 3 Grand Finals, it's a risky position to be in.
Really is. Levin was talking about pressure. If anyone's able to turn pressure into diamonds, it's Pink. And his trio, Kiro and Nebs. Sofer doing a great job against the other most consistent trio in the lobby as the back and forth is going to continue. They do land close to each other, but they aren't taking that engagement, which makes more than enough sense.
Oh, what's up, Freddie? How you doing?
Pretty set up to continue out in this match, but it looks like I thought Mongrel and Hijo would get a break, but they're not going to let it happen so easily. No more builds left onto Mongrel. The one build that Hijo had still able to be used, but Floki, Vox, and Trix, they want these two eliminations.
Floki.
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Glad to see you hopping in here, man.
Only Hijo remains, but that is ultimately going to be the departure there for Mongrel, Akito, and Hijo. Floki, Trix, and Vox, they just pulled up perfect timing. There's already so much hesitation involved in that initial off spawn at Utopia City. That third party, it's just a lot to deal with.
Take a quick look at how Sado is able to play kind of the patience game, waiting for that reboot to pick up an extra elimination on the way. Extra 2, actually, not bad at all.
But if you're a team like Growls, right, and you've now gone through 3 lobbies here at Takata, you're trying to even switch up your off spawn. Hold that thought, Ivan. A little bit frisky here with Art Skill, X-Squeeze, and Podesai. France trying to stand tall here, but Ivan, Ortiz, Difrozi, they might need this damage, Takata. The way that they're seemingly trying to hunt down the opposition, but a surge base way off in the distance. Gonna let Ifrozi know that they're not actually at peak elevation on this mountain span. Art Skill, Podesai, X-Squeeze catching a little bit of a break here. And the shots fired, that's enough for Ivan's team to decide we're just gonna peel back from this. We don't need to keep eating free surge damage, burning through our limited resources. Reposition and then look to make a different approach, but they are definitely hunting for a fight.
Another trio that could be hunting is Split here, as we can see after they not only got 2 quick eliminations from the reboot, they are still hunting in Storm. Picking up one after another. Vexy, Debule, and Pisovsky almost made it to zone, but there is one trio in their way.
But even with those med miss grenades, certainly a pretty big investment from some of these teams looking to get these dead side of zone positions, and they're taking up a lot of early Storm damage. That Storm Sickness could definitely be a threat. Debule, Vexy, and Pixovsky, though, they're still going to continue to just kind of wrap around the hill faces outside of Shiny Shafts. And they're not going to be the only team with the intentions of trying to find a little bit more of an isolated spacing from the rest of the lobby. It's all about keeping a firm grasp on that Storm Surge threshold. And some of these teams that are going to be late stragglers like Axe4, CZB, and Nathan.
Yeah, so Freddie, how's your weekend been going, man?
And that's a big part of the reason why we see so many teams also continue to take these dead side options, Takata, is because they know if they just try to white line in, they're going to be picked apart by the lobby.
Yeah, but the issue is, ideally you'd say, actually just take this safer rotate every time, but taking a safe rotate also means you're not going to run into a lot of players, and not running into a lot of players minimizes your chances to get damage, which is heavily needed, especially in this current meta. But, I'm hoping that they've already gotten enough damage, or at least they'll be able to find some once they make it into zone. Loki Vox Tricks, on the other hand, do not need to worry about that at all, with the amount of eliminations they've already secured.
Oh, I guess picking back up then with what I was trying to hint towards earlier on, if you are a team that hasn't had a whole lot of success in these first 3 lobbies, what do you think it's going to take to kind of flip it for 4th and 5th?
We've talked about this previously.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is pretty much all I've been doing this weekend. Is both group 2 or group 2 was yesterday, so we streamed that for EU and NAC. and then we're gonna be doing it again today. Peterbot's gonna be in tonight, so you want to join us for that at 5. But but the kids and the wife, they've been pretty good.
Already in 5th, you got to start to think: is it really worth it?
Have you subscribed to TK's YouTube channel?
Hi, Freddie. Hi, Freddie.
They can just depend on Siphon. Turn things in their favor, but Neo just open season onto slowly, and Mystic will fall too. A clear trio wipe.
He said hi.
They just manifested.
Hi,
Freddie.
He said hi.
Neo and Tino. We're going to get that out.
Yeah, did you have you gotten a chance to get around to subscribing to TK's channel?
Getting stuck here at Foxy.
Yeah, got the job done. Have the launch pad close by too, but still quite a ways to go. It kind of depends on how many trios are also going to be waiting for them once they get closer to that.
Freddie said you sound adorable.
Right on the edge.
No,
Yeah, he can't when he wants to be.
I'm not Freddie.
You hear him? He said he's not.
Hey, Freddie.
Savage.
Year and a half, we
What?
highlight real moments out of those two, and even for Kyrie, you know, there've been those pop-up instances, but they're trying to play that consistency game, and as long as they can maintain that search threshold, that seems to really be the differentiating mark between a lot of these teams in the lobby. A little bit awkward now, though, for Cringe.
Yeah, I'll type it out as a link. It'll actually give it to you that way.
Pretty early on, but they know they're not out of the woods just yet.
You want to bite?
Still kind of
You want to bite?
that they can just
Love
stay
bite.
away from everyone else in their current position. They'll have to move in as the zone pulls away from them. But some good shots means that the team on Knight are going to be looking at
Yeah, it's huge. Now that the team knows that they are behind them, obviously they're not going to trail straight on, so it's a good job to kind of quickly go on that corner, rotate, even potentially run into a lot of other trios you'll see on the mini-map. This is a team that just has to play consistent. Now at 129 points, the cutoff to be in qualifying range through consistency was 66
Hey,
points going into
Faye!
this game, so they're doing a great job to manage that.
Hey, Freddie.
XC Pixovsky, nice little pull, putting them center zone.
You back, Freddie.
Their base and get ready for the opposing teams to roll on it.
Hey, you back.
keep an eye on what develops next to Rift Island, though.
Hey, TK, tell him thank you. He subscribed to you.
Teams potentially looking
Okay, thank you.
Whoever might be out there right now.
Me.
How many subscribers did it say it had, Freddie?
Central and
Make sure you went to the right one.
surrounding them, but Hero, he definitely got fraggy in the last lobby. That's a big part of the reason why I think King specifically wanted him for his team. He just wants a young fragger that can really just let loose when you need them to most.
It says 15.
Ooh, okay.
How do I still have 15?
Okay. Alright, so he's at 16 now. Good deal. You?
It's gonna be fun, especially if zone continues
Wait,
to
is it
fall towards
15?
them.
You're at
Now, they do have a
16.
good amount of elevation, so they should be able to find some tags, but with kind of the vision from the island,
Mr. Savage.
difficult being only 77 above. We'll see how Savage and his trio holds on. In the meantime, Ivan, Ifroski, nice little pickup.
Hey, can you go in there and turn your TV volume down a little
Yes,
bit?
they are. Another shot comes through. That's another knock.
A little loud,
Harris
can't
left
tell.
Finishes are going to get secured, and Ivan now has more than enough loot to continue on.
Ivan's team just did a really good job executing that last fight and truly just trapped. Even with the Memmis playing a helping hand there, Ivan, Ifrosi, and Artis know this is a solo that we can just wait for. And even more still for Truly, surge stick damage now beginning to play a part. Could be the same spoiler for Savage's team on top of the island. Sure, you've got a solid position, but they're 16 below. They need to find just one shot to alleviate the pressure from these surge stick damages. But Takata, other teams also continuing
Make
to
an
push
L.
7 below.
and the chances are just slipping away from them because most of the
That's
teams
what
have
you
already
are.
rotated out.
A lovely guy. Nice.
Shot was connected. Gonna give them a bit of time to breathe, but the job's not even close to being done yet. Zone's also gonna be pulling further.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing the FNCS NA Central tonight at 5.
Oni masks allowed you to be a bit safer, but now floating up in the sky kind of opens you up.
I think Mr. Savage.
Especially if you've just been raining down from the skies for the previous two
Mr.
zones.
Savage.
Eyes might potentially be on you.
Yeah.
We're gonna wait it out though.
Awesome.
Savage,
Awesome.
one of the first
I don't know
ones
where
to
Mongrel
move
is.
off the mountain, just trying to follow the flow
I'll
of the
be
rest
dead.
of the lobby and hope that it's the teams at ground level who take the bulk of the lobby focus. Tano, Paulatrades, Keon. They've made it into zone, but at what cost? Burning through all of their material just to try and claim a little bit of space here, Takata. And what they really need is still a refresh, but underneath them, Floki, Vox, Tricks.
Make sure my cereal doesn't fly away.
Paulatrades trio and the
Grissom Wings is flying away.
No, you're not.
has to see two of his teammates immediately get pushed back, and he's trying to do what he can to just delay, but with the surge tick slowly chunking away at him, Takata, he can only outlast it for so long, and Vox gonna apply even more pressure. Vox just wants to get credit for this elimination, but that does put Paulatrades into the above threshold.
Only for a second.
For 1 second, and now he's back below. Forced to take a shot once again. He can't afford another trade, though. With just 29 HP, no more heals. He can use the misform to survive just 1 tick longer. As he might have to just go for the 1v3. Hits the shot into the Buell. Can't build now, but focuses on him. Goes down as the rotates are going to come through. Art skill
Those are always the worst.
This could be the
Tried that.
from having 0 points now.
Mr. Savage, I
Endgame
think.
reason. Chaff and Mr. Savage made it off with a
They're 13 below as well.
with 13 below, and now
They're above now.
no heals to work with. Was it worth it in the end?
I think can help but notice Pink Nebs and Kiro, they were ahead of this.
What does Paul try to win? What you mean?
The lobby reason recognizes so many pre-existing builds here, so many footsteps overhead, but no openings. Pink, Kiro, and Nebs just quietly working in the background. They're also elevated up. They're still 84 above the damage threshold. Nebs trying to see if he can secure even more surge damage so they can stay fixated just on their positioning. And Hardy, nearly the end of his run in this lobby, but still left standing, just tagged up along the way. Vano has fallen though, and Vico and
Well, see, he doesn't have storm sickness. He has the damage threshold. See, when the storm circle gets so low and there's so many people stacked into the zone, if you haven't scored enough damage on your opponent, then you'll take damage threshold. So you got to get above that threshold so you don't take damage. And so he had no choice but to go in and rush a fight. So that way he could get above the threshold or eliminate the other two. So that way he wouldn't take damage because he is low on health. Like right here, Resin's 5 HP, but they're only 7 above the damage threshold. If somebody else was to get damage on some other team before they got damaged, they went below. That damage threshold would have eliminated both him and his teammates because they were so low on HP, and that's why he rushed in on the 1v2, 1v3 to try to continue because he had no choice. Yeah.
It's a full trio down below alongside Nathan seems to be an Axe Force controlling height. You can see on the left-hand side, Podosai was making a nice little edge side rotate, elevating themselves a little bit as they know they need a big match here. Cringe on low.
And frontside low is starting to get very
Oh.
messy, but Cringe,
That's good cereal.
if they can just take down
Okay, my milk.
teams as they continue to draw
The milk's
low,
the best
teams
part.
that weren't able
Yep.
to actually hold on to those elevated positions, teams that are a little bit more smothered inside of these mid-ground layers, but this is exactly where
But in
Nebs,
this
Pink, and
case-
Kiro want to be. They're still managing to wrap around, tanking a little bit of the storm even. They've got Memphis grenades, so they know that they can afford to lose just a little bit of HP here. Flixie, Veno, Vico, tagged immediately from overhead. Got to make sure that those floors stay covered. And CZB, Nathan, Axel, this is exactly what they need to be doing, just applying steady pressure, not giving other teams the opportunity to try and challenge for height.
So many of these teams need a big match, Vico, Veno, Flixie included. They're setting things up, but the issue is they're running low on mats with the aggression we tend to see from this tree. I wouldn't be surprised if a refresh is going to come through shortly. They're looking above, they're looking around them, they're trying to think, where can we find any possible shot? But when you got the best fraggers on EU on your side, Vico hitting shot after shot is going to pick up. Karma is going to pick up another, and now is it going to give them enough match to play safe once again?
Honest, I don't know. I don't know where they're at today.
Over everything, and Vico leading the charge now for his trio. He's just going to depend that Veno's got things covered for the tarp out. But Hero, Nebs, Pink, they tanked a lot of Storm early on. They played all of their white heals. Flixie can't afford to stay playing towards that backside. All down to Vico and Veno to close this one out. They have 6 eliminations in total, Takata, which is definitely some nice point build-up. But a team that's healthy in the low ground is not going to be Pink, Nebs, and Kiro. They've lost Nebs. This could not be worse. They invested so much to try and take this frontside low position, and now it's just unfolding right in front of their eyes. But Kiro still trying to get the recovery. If he can find this shot onto Fido, that might open the doorway to bring things back into balance here. But Veno shifting back to overhead, trying to see if he can get these layer swaps. But all he wants to do is play off of Vico. All Kiro has to do.
I guess we do have one mod hanging out.
Every single placement counts, but he can't get through the pre-existing build. He's running out of time. He's just going to go down because of the storm damage itself. Cringe, also a solo, playing from the backside, and he kicks out Peshka, but Takata misfarm away from the action. CZB, Nathan, and Axe4, surely they've got this.
Yeah, Summer's hanging out.
It's not enough to knock him down. Nation with the finish alongside CZB. They have not been contested a single time throughout this
no heal, no misform. Oof.
Still trying to heal off. It looks
like
Vico
Nathan
as well playing the heal off.
Uh-oh. Come on, Bob. Come on, Bob. Come on, Bob.
On the floor, is it going to be enough? CZB up above.
No! Storm sickness got him. Dang. GG's. Just so close on that one, chat. So close.
Still just waiting to be utilized at the very end here. Takata, Storm sickness takes out the best of us. A huge congratulations, though, to CZB and Nathan, as well as Axe4. They held on to the high ground. Nobody really had the opportunity to try and actually overtake, but the heal-off was definitely a little bit dicey.
I know, right? Dude, he was good, but that storm sickness came in clutch for him. in a bad way, of course. Hey, that was so close.
Securing that victory royale. So we'll see CZB and Nathan Naxforce now in the major finals, but who I want to see is Frankie, Levin, and Minnie. What do you got for us?
Thank you very much, guys. Well, I've got a question, which is, why were people not challenging Axe4, Nathan, CZB for height? It just looked really easy for them, Levin. I'm confused.
Yeah, no, it really did. Look, I wasn't surprised to see them up on high after how last game went. Last game, we saw them challenging for it. And you know, knowing CZB and Nathan over the years of FNCS, I went, okay, look, these guys want a height watch. Next game, they're going to come through and try to take that. And they did. And it was such a strong height hold. Anyone looking up at it for starters in some of the earlier zones would have went, yeah, we can't take that now. Right, they double layered in metal, you know, really good connection points. It was just always going to be tough. And then the rest of the lobby was just scrapping below them, right? On some of those higher layers where you'd expect teams to be perched up, waiting to try to take height. They just never had a chance to really look up and even try challenge for it. Nathan, CZB, and Axels did a good job of pressuring Mini. And all in all, a pretty straightforward game from them. Obviously, Vico and them almost made it close with the potential heal off, but Storm Sickness gets them the win.
Yeah, the Storm Sickness ultimately took down Vico. He had so many heals right there at the end, but I think it was a really nice height hold. I think the zones helped as well. I think it was 11 zone that actually pulls back on them. So the fact they invested a lot of those builds early on was really beneficial. If 11 zone pulls really far, then they're going to have to drop down and try and play those mid-ground layers because they've invested all those materials. But because that zone then ultimately the 12 zone pulls back over those old builds, they're able to stay up there and people can't really look up at that point. So really well played from those guys, and I'm excited to see them in major finals. We often see CZB and Nathan dominating in these sort of sectors of the competition and these sort of group stages. So I want to see them now kick on and do that in Grands.
Yeah, great news for Nathan, CCV, and Actors, and also great news.
Yeah,
because
that happens.
Are back in the lobby, and hopefully we're going to see big things from them and the rest of our traders after the break.
Yeah, that Storm Sickness is crazy. Honestly, I think they should remove the Storm Sickness unless you're like in it for like the whole entire matchup and it gets to end game. Like if it's end game and it closes and at that point, that's when I agree Storm Sickness should come in. But like Storm Sickness throughout the whole game, while it's still zone, I don't think they should do that personally. But it's a way of keeping people from staying in the storm the whole time, all the way through the end game, and just camping and making it like a 2, 3, 4 hour game for no reason.
This is why we won't see many players in FNCS using this item unless it's right off spawn or for a desperate last-ditch escape. A favourite amongst competitive players at all levels this season is the Mist Form. It's found all over the map and transforms you into a flock of ravens. Each flight only lasts 4 seconds and has a 20-second cooldown, but the speed and distance you can cover in that window make it one of the best rotation tools in the game. What really sets it apart is that while you're flying, you can't take any damage, not from other players or even the storm, which is why in a heal-off situation, we always see top pro players using the Mist Form to avoid taking any storm damage while they look around for heals. It's also perfect for making sneaky high ground retakes in the late game. On top of that, many pro players are actually using this item defensively too, escaping box fights when things get chaotic, making this item not just about mobility, but key to survival at times. The final main mobility item that competitive players are using this season are the dashes that can be obtained by throwing down the dash sprite and entering the circle it creates. The great thing about these is that any player in the area gets 3 dashes, so your whole trio can load up with mobility at once. The dashes themselves work very similarly to the Underworld dashes from last chapter, except they will not give you fall damage immunity, so watch out for that. When it comes to box fights,
they should have fixed that. They should have done fall damage immunity on that.
When they have the upper hand in a fight. When used well, these dashes can really be one of the most valuable assets.
Now, the way to save yourself from fall damage on it is right before you hit the ground, dash, and it'll save you from fall damage.
Shrouded Striker Medallion, which can be obtained by eliminating Core on the Rift Island. This medallion allows the user to have increased stamina, jump further, faster and higher, partial invisibility, and fall damage immunity. We often see high fragging players like Peterbot and Marius taking this, as they use it so well in endgame to dip in and out of fights, finding eliminations as they do. Sometimes top players even combine this medallion with the dashes to get fall damage immunity from those too, making them a force to be reckoned with. Make sure to keep an eye out for these rotation strategies today in the Group 3 games. See you on the Battle Bus.
Welcome back to FNCS Major 3. It's Group 3 time. This is our final group of this major, so the pressure is truly on all of our trios who haven't yet scored themselves a Victory Royale ticket to the Major 3 finals. We've got 2 games left, and we have to talk about Mr. Savage because this is his new trio. He was with Reason last season. They picked up Chap, and so far, I think that they must be fairly satisfied with their performance. There's still a bit more to do, but they're doing it fairly well, Levin.
Yeah, slower game this time around, right? Not as prolific as the first 2. They've had their struggles in the mid-game leading up to it, but they did, give a fighting effort of it, right, in the end game mini. But again, a game to reset and come back stronger, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is a sort of zone that you'd think would favor them better, right? More top left side of the map. So you'd think, yeah, this is going to be a better game for them. But ultimately, it was just a little bit of a mid-game problem. You can see them below on Surge right there, which just highlights to me that maybe they didn't really have that Storm Surge sorted out earlier on. Maybe a little bit of a spanner in the works for them in terms of their rotations. But they're still in and amongst that sort of top 5, right? So they are still capable and still in the range, but need to be a better game in the next one.
And let's talk about Akira, Karama, and Werex. I don't think I thought that they were going to be so high on the consistency leaderboard. Their eliminations are ridiculous. They're leading in the lobby, it looks like, right now, Mini.
Yeah, they are, and they're just making these end games as well. Consistency personified so far, and I mean, this is exactly what we can expect from this trio as well. You mentioned it last game, Levin, at the end of it. These guys can just clutch up and find these moments of brilliance, even when they're a duo like in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the duo fighting again, just both together, shotguns out ready for anybody to get in their way. Just shots like that again, just crucial to keep them ticking alive on the back of the zone. Composure, and it's what you want to see from a team like these guys who are fighting and want to try and get themselves to globals, right? They're gonna have to have performances like this if they have any chance of doing it next weekend.
It's been super impressive so far to see, and I am curious to know how they're going to fare against that Major 3 lobby, because it's going to be pretty stacked. But do remember at home that a lot of the trios that we're predicting to take the Blade of Champions at Major 3 might have already qualified. Let's also talk about Vico, Veno, and Flixie. I mentioned before the break, we needed to have a big game from these guys, and my word, they delivered. It was a shame that Storm Sickness got to Vico in the end, Mini.
Yeah, really unfortunate. But, I mean, they had a much better mid-game, much better early game as well this time. It seems like Storm Surge, again, has been a few issues for them today. This game, though, Levin, making it to endgame, finding eliminations, playing like we would expect them to play, I think, a lot more of the sort of Vico, Veno, Flixie trio that we're used to. Yeah, just really unfortunate circumstance at the end because, you know, 9 times out of 10, he probably wins that.
I think the thing I loved about this game is it was a big showcase of what makes this trio so great, in that they were in some situations where most teams in the lobby will just fall over and then go down and you're back to the lobby. These guys can fight their way out of tough spots in a way that most teams on Earth cannot, right? There's a couple of them in NA that we know, but over here on EU, these guys are probably the most potent ones where you get in trouble and they, you know, Veno will hit a big shot, Flixie will jump in box, or Vico will just be Vico, and they're able to stay alive in some of these games. And so hopefully now they just get the win, right? They came so close there, but a big game from them nonetheless.
The thing is, they need to sort out those early game surge issues and be consistent with that in order to actually make it to these end games. Levin, do you have any concerns?
Yeah, I mean, it's been the theme of them all year. It's felt like they've been battling and struggling between, do we play this style of play that optimizes for us in our ability to fight, or do we look to play a game that has less risk and mitigate that and something that maybe Veno's more familiar with as an IGL? I think that balance is always going to be something we're going to be talking about until the Global Championships.
Well, Pink, Nebs, and Kiro certainly seem to have found the balance, Mini.
Yeah, really exciting stuff from them so far today.
Good.
They've been really consistent. I know going into last season's major,
yeah, he was
concerns about this trio. I was thinking, how well are they going to perform? They definitely exceeded my expectations. I think they
honestly, I wish that they would have a way of like reversing it. Like, if you're getting close to storm damage and you get out of the storm, you stay out of the storm for like say 5 minutes, that should reverse it in my opinion. And they should also give you a bar that tells you when you're close to storm damage or storm sickness. I think that would be a cool add-on. All right, chat. Group 3, Major 3, Game 4. One more game after this. This is getting the back end of the Group 3's chat.
Maybe then I start to get a little bit worried, but it's Veno, Vico, and Flixie. They're going to figure it out. They already basically did it in the last lobby.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that, but we know their confidence is going to cause them to just keep on fighting. It's what they know how to do best, and sometimes you can get a little unlucky in one of those fights, and all it's going to take is one more match without a lot of points, and it's going to put them on the edge for the last game of the day. Time will tell, though, as we look at Canyon once again contested.
Bit of a heartbreaker there, though, for Annie and Co. Probably pretty happy in the last lobby. Get a little bit of uncontested relief, but ABC, Marvick, Godoy, they've really just tried.
Hey, you don't have to apologize for that. Shoot, spam it. I don't care. That's fine by me if you spam it. Send 50 of them at a time. It's okay. The more you comment, the more you react, the more YouTube will help push it out.
In what could be a very decisive Canyon Crossing outcome with that early contest.
Just don't spam like words or stuff like that. Like A's, B's, C's. You get what I'm saying? Just don't spam like crazy like that. But I don't care about the emojis. You can spam that.
I did see on the Elim feed as well, Podesai picked up eliminations. I wonder if they got contested at Demon's domain, but we can see kind of how this off-spawn and outpost did end up. Just a better drop is all it really took.
All that off-spawn practice paying off dividends right now for Sada's team, and Slick especially has had a handful of moments really of just clutching up for that team's opening. Marvick, Godoy, and ZNN though still stuck hanging out overhead. Cammy, Ratty, Kev want to apply a little bit of pressure here. They don't want to leave Marvick alone on the high ground, just trying to be a little bit of a distraction factor here. But Rad not going to be able to fully collapse just yet. Definitely hear Godoy kind of making a little bit of a ruckus there though, but Hammy still looking to just close in from a separate approach. These buildings are being fully gutted here at Canyon Crossing.
Yeah, trying to find any angle for one big shot. They're making sure to farm up. In the meantime, you can see there is at least one trio around them, but they're not going to walk on in yet. This fight honestly should end pretty quickly as soon as the first big shot gets exchanged. But so far, it's a waiting game.
But the time to elimination has been so heavily delayed with the way that ABC's trio is actually setting up at Canyon. They're not looking to immediately challenge, but they're just wasting so much time, and they're picking apart. There's not a whole lot of loot to split there between two trios, as is Takada. And so when things are even further delayed, you're really just extending an open invitation to get third party at that point. And teams like Fido, Cringe, they're just roaming around the map. Scary Sean even, trying to see if they can set up a...
Yeah, that's up to you, brother, if you want to.
Which would be awful for Mr. Savage fans, especially given his position on the leaderboard.
I mean, it could be a lot worse. They've stayed in qualifying range throughout this whole day, basically, so...
Yeah, you don't want them going out early.
It would be a shame to go down now.
All right,
like
pick a number, 1 or 2.
The shots connect, not a single knock, though, has been made. Savage just has to hold on now, but with 3 players dashing right into you, it is incredibly difficult to do so. Even the loot that was left...
I guess not, because 2 was no. I had picked 1 for yes and 2 for no, and you picked 2.
This could quickly turn around for Savage and his trio.
This is exactly what you didn't want to see happen, but poor chap, just nowhere left to run. Reason, the only survivor, no, he might be able to escape. It doesn't seem like he's actually caught the attention just yet from Scary Sean's team. Heading I think he just failed in a completely separate direction to Chap there to...
You got Rocket League?
Could live.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the good part of what kind of they were doing. They were setting up their surge base, had a player going around to get those extra shields, extra loot, and luckily it meant they weren't really together, but not being together caused Savage to get picked off, but at the same time, now it caused Reason to be able to kind of play it slow and get a reboot later on in the match, so hopefully it's going to be enough for them to maintain their spot on the leaderboard.
Well, we were mentioning the options, the opportunities for a third party in Canyon Crossing. Vexy, Pixovsky, Debule, Mythic, and be one of the first casualties there at the Canyon, but Veno, Vico, Flixie.
Ready, you got Rocket League?
Where they thrive. Supernova Academy is bumping right now. They don't have any eliminations yet, but they are certainly trying to figure out if they can collect at least 1, 2, maybe more. Things
Yeah, you can actually get a skin on Rocket League now. For Fortnite. If you, wait, you got the, crew pack on Fortnite?
Have to trust you have a lot of confidence in your teammates to tackle that, Takata, but you just don't want any kind of unintended outcomes, like another party rolling up to see if they can...
Yeah, I don't know if you have to have the crew pack to get the skin, but oh well. Just as long as you log into your, pretty much their Fortnite account or Epic account on, Rocket League, you should still be able to get it. You just gotta get 15 saves in online, and you'll get it. I haven't quite got it yet, but I need to go get it. Oh, and you can also use our supporter creator code over there on Rocket League too.
But Venom, Flixie, and Vika, they've at least created enough space that they're going to be able to supervise if another team decides to jump into the fray here. But looks like for right now, they're going to peel off Vexy, Hammy, still, and Vexy like to believe that, yeah, he just gets clean elimination onto Hammy there. Not enough HP to really try and wiggle their way out. Just taking advantage of the opportunities presented.
Student, Mafia and Trexer, the only ones on the island currently, but it seems like they do have kind of a back and forth potential here. Take some shots, do a bit of extra damage. Perfect from the spur loot they've acquired now. I don't think anything too risky will come from this trio here, so I'll let them take their shots back and forth and head on over to Vico, Veno, Flixie once again, that do like getting up close and personal when it comes to finding that damage, and it seems like they might have just found a trio that seems to be separated from the rest of the lobby.
They've pretty much been trailing Gozia's team since back at Supernova Academy, and Vico looking to pick up where they last left off. The Superman sprites kind of connecting onto a handful of different walls there, but it's Vico. He does not care. He's just trying to jump into the box there from Gozia. Doesn't matter to him, even if it's a 2 versus 1. He trusts that he knows Veno, Flixie, they've got him covered. Does he to tag, though? That's going to slow him down for a moment. Veno's got to be real careful here. Gozia trying to wrap around his flank, but Gozia loses track of where Flixie is at. And sandwiched between Flixie and Veno. That's going to be Flixie's first elimination.
Nice.
One, and now
that's awesome to know.
Just hold up. Lucky going to dash out, try to see if he can go for some kind of madman shot here. But this trio is just falling apart by the seams. Vico needs another tag. But with Lucky going down, Vico's going to be able to fully close out that final member elimination. And that's the 3-piece that Veno's team has been chasing after since the start of this game.
There's a difference against going against the trio that's used to taking these fights in the group stages, the major finals, versus trios that might, play aggressive in the playoffs in that first game. Go for, some big even matches. Hold on, pause that thought. The 3-2-1 from Akira. Karama and Rerix is going to pay off. Unfortunate for Zarb. Is going to go down with 2 quick pumps. Now helping Karama and Co. maintain that consistency as it looks like they're going to try and close it out on Stormy right here and is now left as a duo.
Kurama, the non-tail fox chat. If you know, you know.
Still has 2 other healthy members to depend on. That opening elimination, pulling the numbers into their favor. Radion doing what he can.
Ready knows.
Could be enough for Akira's team to decide to pull back, but they know. They can smell it, they can taste it. Just 2 more eliminations waiting right in front of them. And then they have Utopia all to themselves. They're not even going to allow Stormy Rider and Radion to consider making that reboot attempt out of desperation. And Kurama nearly folded by Stormy right there. But
Kurama,
to hold fast,
not Kurama.
3 eliminations in tow. Werix, Karama, and Akira, their patience paid off.
If only one of them was Naruto.
Speaking about patience, Pink, Nebs, and Kuro have been playing very patient, haven't gone too hard. There was one match where I believe they had like 8 eliminations.
16. Age 16, we do standard mods.
Top spot of the consistency leaderboard. We don't have to take any risks from this point on, and since then they've been consistently making it to the end game, and it looks like once again they don't want to force any fights, even if they might have the advantage. Mongrel's team though, starting with 3 eliminations, this maybe the best we've seen them so far set up throughout the day, and it's not even ideal. Still missing a lot of mats, and now with the pressure coming from Pinken's trio, it's gonna be
I hear poop out.
No, Takata, that material count looked kind of grim there for Mongrel's trio. I don't know if maybe Growl was holding on to a little bit more material count there, but they're going to have to spend time refarming mats as they continue to try and navigate the 4th lobby. Pixovsky, Dabule, Vexy. So many teams just willing to invest time tanking the early storm tick damage, the Memmis grenades.
You know what I don't understand is why are they so willing to take so much storm damage at the beginning of the game or the matchup when pretty much all these players fight for end game, and when they know that end game is going to close 90% of the time. So like if they're going to fight for end game, wouldn't they need to focus on not taking as much storm damage so they don't get storm sickness?
It's okay. He can lose his shield and he won't have to worry.
That's true. Well, the back and forth will continue here. Showing a bit of surge meta of the previous seasons. Not too much to worry about so far.
Ooh.
Okay.
Definitely encountering some problems here for Tynox, Ratty, and Hammy. They were just hoping to try and make a deep play for the reboot, but they just keep encountering one hurdle after the next. Both of these teams having the same mindset. You just want to play for the reboot, but getting trapped, staring each other down. If they don't fight directly here, Takata, it's just going to delay both of these teams' opportunities to ever play for that reboot in the first place. But it looks like Tynox has decided we're just not going to try to make a play here. We'll shift elsewhere, hope for the best outcome.
Don't they still have the storm towers in this? Or is there a boon for that now?
I'm liking this, okay. I like the amount of loot they have. A few eliminations on the board as well. I'm interested in Podosai, though, close by as well. There's a trio that's not too close on the consistency leaderboard, so this match really matters a lot. Meanwhile, 116 points puts you in a comfortable enough position. Already in qualifying range. Just have to kind of hold on to that spot.
This feels so much like the calm before the storm, though. Because, especially with the way that the zone is just continuing to pull a little bit more towards that south appearance, or actually, excuse me, that northwest appearance. It's like, I could see things continuing to move a little bit further south here, Takata, but all of these teams kind of taking isolated positions. It's no surprise that we're witnessing other teams that have had their surge strategies locked in now encounter some difficulties with that, because there are so many isolated surge bases across the map, and teams don't want to rotate through that. They're trying to take whatever natural coverage they can, but so many teams are just left chalked for these end games because they're having to spend so much material just getting to that position in the first place.
And you'll have trios like Trix, Loki, and Vox who are going to take advantage of those players rotating in late. Just doing as many little small tags as possible. Cammy, Hari eye drop. Looking for a big game from this trio. We're pretty close to that top 10, but nowhere near comfortable.
Cammy definitely hasn't had as flashy of a day as Seti's performance yesterday. I know that's probably one of the last things on the back of his mind right now. It's all focus on just qualing in the first place of the Major 3 Grand Finals, but being underneath that search threshold is just going to make that journey all the more difficult for that team. They're trying to see if they can close in on some search tag opportunities, but all the tradies, Kia and Hano, they're sitting pretty 845 above. The only thing that's really in their peripherals right now is just dealing with the team on Rift Island.
Yeah, this is a interesting zone because there's a lot of mountains, so it creates a lot of kind of elevated areas for trios to build bases. But not only that, in the middle of the elevated areas, you have Rift Island, which is the most elevated area you could possibly be on. So for the trios rotating in, it's going to be tough. A lot of vision on.
I hear you, man. Yesterday, I didn't get any sleep yesterday. The night before last. And like 3 nights ago, dude, I've had rough on my sleep. But last night, I got me some good sleep.
It's just unfortunate for some of these teams on the lower areas of elevation, just constantly being reminded of where these search-based positions are at. Oh. Even way across the way. That's a great knock, but won't be able to convert it towards an elimination. Firo's not interested in getting any closer. Even with the HP advantage, they know that double revive at that distance, it's going to be finished off well before they make their way over.
A lot of big names in this rotate. Nems and Kira are resetting up on their dash sprite, making sure no one's trailing behind them. Saw Vico Benoflixi close to them as well. Good little side of the mountain rotate, making use of that environmental coverage. Try and avoid getting shot, but it seems like they want to almost create a bit of a dead side here and not let people walk through easily.
Great minds think alike, so seeing Pink kind of trailing after Veno, no real surprise here, but Neo building for his life currently, and he's not going to be able to get away. The Storm Surge is the real threat now, and for Ratty's team, a big part of the reason why they were so adamant on chasing out these elims, because they knew we also need to stay above that surge damage threshold. The last thing you want to worry about is surge ticks when you're already having to deal with these shifts in elevation. And Cora experiencing some of that lobby focus. Cringe, Raku, Fido, they know this is a team in trouble. Just gonna mosey on over, tackle them, and just steamroll through their builds. Cringe though, the visuals are so limited. He doesn't even get a chance to fight back. The rest of the lobby now spraying down on these builds. Shaco's doing everything he can to try and hold the walls around him, but Cringe lost both of his teammates in one swift movement.
Hey, but now he's 9 above the threshold. Mission accomplished. Good news for Cringe is they're leading the pack in terms of consistency, 192, but one more elimination couldn't hurt. Even if he goes down here, should be able to hold on, but it's going to put that much more pressure onto their last match. Yeah, no more cooldown on the mist form. Cringe will go down to zone here, like I was alluding to.
Well, that was cringy. Pun intended, of course, chat. All right, ready.
Vico Benoflixi, on the other hand, need to have a good match here to put themselves in a comfortable spot, and I don't want to speak too soon. A crack comes through, but no knocks as they continue on forwards.
That's still going to force Vico Flixi to recognize that they are not alone. They've got Cammy, iDrop, and Hari still overhead. And even further up, across the way, Debut, Pitsovsky. So a lot of teams trying to see if they can maintain a position towards the lower edges of some of these mountain pools, but focusing back in onto the French trio and
Big Bob, can he build it?
What have they been able to convert?
Storm Surge.
The rest of the lobby has kind of respected the fact that this team has decided to infiltrate Demon's domain, go right back to where they had originally wanted to be in the first place, but even being uncontested at that drop, you still got to make something of it, and that's all that Podesai, X-Squeeze, and Artskiller after.
Yeah, when they're out of the drop, they got 0 points in both matches, but right when they got to Demons in a single match, they were able to secure 48, and now once again, you can see they have a chance at it, but Akira also continuing to show why they're at the top of the pack.
Okay, welcome back, Freddie. Welcome back. And yeah, to reply back to your comment from earlier, yeah, I feel you there. Last night I slept like a baby too, man. When I finally passed out, I was out.
Has been alleviated. Lobby has decided to look elsewhere. Nevs, Pink, and Kiro have kind of scouted where they want to go next, but they want to make sure that no one is going to prevent them from pushing forward. It's largely just Panay, Moneymaker, and Tidy. They might have to send some shots their way or see if they can get an opportunity to really wrap around them.
Kurama!
Kida and Kurama kind of fought their way into their current position. But all about the misform movement currently. Gabriel, Pixovsky, Vexy, they never even got a chance to look back. Flixie, Venom,
They should one of these teams should come in as a Naruto, a Sasuke, and Sakura. So that way you'll have Team 7.
Now is going to grab them a chug. As they heavily need that bit of extra shield, but you don't want to spend too much time in this fight. They're not in zone yet. They've secured the finish. No need to continue pursuing. Right now the focus is on getting to zone. It isn't an elevated part here, so a lot of these trios
Yeah.
meaning you don't want to take too much time. Cammy, though, is going to be one of the trios up above. There's a lot of big names that need a massive match here. And Cammy, Hari, and iDrop are one of them. Podesai being another one as well, directly below them. Art skill getting almost cracked.
And Cammy just trying to keep tabs, making sure that if they do get chopped, that they'll be able to utilize those dashes. A few charges still left in that dash sprite even, but it's a challenge up against the Frenchies.
Honestly, I'd like to see one of these teams use a anime skin in the FNCS. I think that'd be pretty cool. 60 below. 12 below. I've seen that 12 below eliminated team. 17 below. Oh, 80 above. 1 below. Ooh. Without 1 below, knock them. Shoot, they just need to blow wind at somebody to get it. Hit them with a pickaxe.
For the double res and the heal. Cammy, iDrop, Hari once again looking to see if they can claim height. They tried it in the first game. It got overthrown, but they have a shot at it once again. And this time around, a lot of materials. If the zone's able to pull back, could be a blessing for this trio, as now they're focused on just applying that pressure to the trios that are second.
iDrop with that misform can always drop. He's got the dashes too, so he won't take any fall damage. But Flixie, Veno, Vico, all the way in the lowest layer playing towards that front side, just trying to push other teams back. Artis under so much heavy fire, doing everything in his power to try and hold these walls, but Pink, Kiro, Nebs immediately catapulting themselves towards the front side. Kiro one more time, though, gonna pay the ultimate price here. He's been knocked only this time. Pink and Nebs, they don't have the chance to try and play for that double revive. They've got to keep things moving. They know there's too many teams getting pulled into the congestion in this low ground. Veno, Vico, Flixie waiting for their openings, but iDrop, Cammy, Hadi, they are refusing to let up any pressure. They're gonna force these teams to the low ground to keep expending these misforms just to get to the front side.
Who elevated themselves up. They might be starting to look up above. They know high ground team might be running low on materials here. It really depends where this second to last zone pulls. Will it go back? Will it continue far? As Hari, Kami, iDrop now pressure's onto them as people are trying to drop them down. It's Vico, Veno, Flixie taking shots. They want to take a shot at high ground.
Podesai, art skill, also kind of tangled up in this mess that's developing underneath, but Vico, he's actually overthrown high.
Oh, you're good, Freddy. Get you some rest, man. I understand.
To reunite, so Vico, he'll fall back. He wants to go pick up the loot from Veno at the very least, but now high ground completely thrown into disarray.
Hey, Moneymaker. I ain't seen his name on here in a while. Or actually at all. Wow, I didn't know he was in here. Oh, snap, chat.
Side, another layer transition. He knows he's too separated from Flixie. He can't actually make that challenge for height. Art skill, Moneymaker, Tidy, all getting chopped out, dropped under.
Ooh, Moneymaker drop.
It's gonna be the first one to fall from his team, but Tidy, F9, they can get a refresh. They might still be able to make something happen here, but F9, he only has a sliver of HP. Chasing him down.
The back-to-back drop. Tidy now only forced with one material left, doing what he can to stay up. But it looks like the French trio, they've overthrown it. They needed a big match. They were in the lower half of the leaderboard going into this game. 7 points in the first 2, and now everything on the line in the second to last match alongside Flixie and Vico, who are doing what they can to clutch it up as a duo.
All right, Freddie, I appreciate it. You have a great sleep. Remember, 5 o'clock, 3.5 hours from now.
Still duking it out underneath. Flixie will finally fall. That's the end of Veno's team here. Otisai, X-Squeeze, they have the chance to close this one out for France. Guaranteed their spots for the Major 3 Grand Finals. X-Squeeze delivers. Werix has fallen. Meme has the opportunity now. Gentle Mates, another team getting sent for the Otisai taken down.
Ortiz comes out with a dub. All right. GG's. All right, later, Freddie. GG's. Well, that's game 4. All right. Yeah, I'm in East. Where are you at? West or Central?
Closed it out, playing it patiently from the low ground. You can see the connections coming through from Ivan. Elim after Elim, putting the pressure on height, making sure his team is looking extra healthy for those final moments. And with the last shot getting connected, they're able to close
West.
the match.
Okay, so it is almost 11. What, 10:30 for you?
Hear what Levin has to say about his trio qualifying.
You're on Zorak OG's time zone.
The top 5 playing without pressure trios included a trio that qualified, I think, in 93rd place. And that trio just happened to get a victory royale.
What?
Talk to us about how you're feeling right now.
What? Holy cow.
I can say a lot right now. I love how Takara called them my team as well. He's like, yeah, 11's team, like I'm coaching them or something. Nah, it's not like that. Look, the reality is, you know, when you've been watching Fortnite as long as I have, the eyes don't lie. Do you know what I'm saying? This team passed the eye test. When I've watched them, they've
You watch TikTok, Freddie?
They've done it as well in previous group stages this year. It's not like they're a team from out of nowhere completely. They have experience along these
Better yet.
You know, to close out the win in that way was very clinical of them. And some pop-up players as well, bigger limbs. It's not like they just walked through and they were playing, you know, low ground, hiding in the lobby and they bided their time. Nah, they took the game by storm there, Mini.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the chaos up on high ground actually really helped them out because, of course, so many players up there were really trying to go for it. It was a bit of a mix up there for a lot of time. And I think a lot of those players were then dropping on down to the low ground, in which case these guys are like, yeah, come on down. We'll have all that loot. And they just played it so well again, sticking together so well.
Hey, go subscribe to him. Make sure you turn the alerts on. Zorak OG. He's on your servers in your side of things. I actually game with him a lot. Check him out. He streams on YouTube a lot, but he's more on TikTok. But yeah, definitely check him out. What happened to the?
I will not be interrupting my own. Welcome back to FNCS Europe. We have got just one more game left of Group 3. There's going to be some trios already preparing for the last chance qualifier, but every single trio still has the chance to qualify if they manage to get a victory royale in this final game. However, we have to talk about the trios where they currently stand in terms of consistency. Vico, Flixie and Veno, they had a poor start to the lobby. However, they're starting to pick up momentum, Levin.
Yeah, they're picking things up. That game was a bit of a cleaner one in terms of, you know, they weren't as frag heavy towards the end game there. But I felt like they had a bit more control. They had a bit more of a sense of direction, Minnie.
Yeah, they did. It was a lot better from these guys. It's exactly what we would expect to see from these guys in terms of the way that they're playing. I really like the way that they try to go for height as well. That was sort of later on. They try to do that sort of retake that they do so well, getting to that front side, spraying out height, and then making their way up. I think it was Veno that went down inside of the storm, and then Vico tried to help him out, try to get some of the loot off of Veno's body. Didn't quite work out for them. That was sort of send them into a little bit of a frenzy, but some of the best teams like these guys can pick up the pieces in those situations. And when you have players like Flixie and Veno and Vico, I should say, that are just able to duo clutch like that, you know you're going to be down for a good game.
If we take a look at the standings as well, we can see that, I mean, as well as this lobby being incredibly competitive, I guess that's what you'd expect. You might not expect Akira, Karama and Werix to be right at the top of the consistency leaderboard, Mini Miner.
I mean, it's consistency, but it's also fragging. Look at that, 35 points for those, 35 eliminations, I should say, for these guys right now. Absolutely incredible. They're getting a lot of them in these sort of end game stages as well, Evan. They're getting to these positions really well, and of course, making the most of it when they get there. I think this could be the best French team that's on the region right now.
No, this has truly been a masterclass in endgame fragging from these guys. Mechanically, all of them are just feeling it, right? All of them.
Nice, I appreciate that. Oh, there, Freddie. Yeah, here in just a minute, I'm probably gonna be stepping away from chat. I'll be here until match 5 starts, but then I'll be stepping away for a few minutes.
They can all step up, Kurama especially as well. Let me shout him out. I'm loving what I'm seeing from these guys right now.
Yeah, Werix is just conditioning his opponents. Let's talk about our other French trio then. Podosai, X-Squeeze and Artskill. Now, they got given Demon's Domain for free after Queasy's Victory Royale in game number 2, but have they been capitalizing on it, Levin?
This had to be the game. This really did. They're primed up on height. Yes, they're a duo. But, you know, they survive, right? They survive some of the more difficult parts. Like when Rex is coming up, if he hits a couple big shots and maybe a game's done there, it's these final closing moments against Ivan's trio below. That 4 damage from Podosai honestly could be the difference maker. Maybe he's able to stay alive there, take down Ifrozy, and then you have a 2v1 against Artist right above. And then you might, you know, you give yourself a chance, that you give yourself a fighting chance. Small margins are the difference makers here. They're just on the outside, Mini. But if they don't make it now, they'll be looking.
Dude, how did Mr. Savage's group drop so far down?
Yeah, misplay. I think he was.
Hey, that's crazy.
Do I go back into the zone, try and help out Frag? Do I try and go back into the
Moneymaker's 20th. Yeah, a long ways to go. They need to get a victory royale. They expect to make it.
What he was thinking about doing right there, but they've put themselves in a good position. 12th place, they can still clutch up and get inside that top 5.
Sorry, man, this group is too stacked, bro. Look at the page.
I wonder if they're going to give us the groups, the list of who's going to make it to the LCQs.
Good game will do it for them here, but that is a load of pressure on this game, right? Pressure that I'm sure they can handle, but this is a team they've not been anonymous today. Like, they've had really good games. We've seen them on high. We've seen them in situations primed to win games, and the possibility of these guys not even making it through to the major finals after this next game would be catastrophic. This would be a huge upset.
Well, I thought this was going to be the game for them. They set up really well. They did exactly what Cammy's known for, being in a good position, now playing high as well. Just lacking those eliminations we saw right there. I think they had 2 for the team. They weren't ever going to be able to have the materials to stay up there. So they need to turn it on now for this last game because it's now on ever.
Well, when we saw the lobby list for Group 3, we all knew that heartbreak was going to be inevitable. There's going to be tears for some of these trios. Some of them tears of joy because they will have qualified for the Major 3 finals after this game. Take it away, Taco and Takata.
All right, chat. Major 3, last match for EU. Let's see who's going to win it. Sit back, enjoy. Don't forget to hit a like, subscribe, and alert button, y'all. And I'll be right back. Give me a few minutes, and sit back and enjoy.
And stake their bets through the last chance qualifier.
I'm scared, and I'm not even playing. I'm just watching the games, and I'm feeling the pressure from spectating these matches. Levin was pointing it out, but the amount of names on that second page not yet in qualifying range, it's looking like a finals already, and this is just the 3rd group. 1 match is all that's left before we see our final trios that are going to qualify to the major finals. The only thing left after this final group stage is that last chance qualifier where 3 trios make it through, but we don't have to wait any longer. Let's kick off the last game of the day.
And even when we step away from that consistency metric for the leaderboard, there's 1 spot left up for grabs in winning this final match here at Takata. And in Game 5, I truly believe we are about to witness some real maniacs on display. Because some of these teams, they know I don't have a singular chance. I've been losing every single one of these 50-50s off spawns. I only have the win as my win con. And Karma, Sato, Split, for the first time ever, uncontested at Outpost. The message has been established. This is our turf.
I mean, it's a good time to be uncontested. Sato and his trio are literally the cutoff. They're in 10th place right now, so they do need to have a decent match here, and now the safety of being uncontested is going to give them a little bit of time to relax, but a drop spot that has been contested basically every single match throughout the day except for 1 is Canyon Crossing.
Could be some serious trouble on the horizon here for Hammy, Kev, and Ratty. They've largely been getting the better end of this exchange, but any delay is still a delay. Pump Power also shifting a bit here. Keto having already been knocked. Mongrel and Ijo, they're going to have to hit the road here. This is their last chance, and they basically need a win to pull through Takata.
Seeing them win in the last match would be hype, but they've got a long ways to go, and the way it's looking right now, no more builds. 14 shots total for Mongrel with a full trio that has shield pushing you. I'd give them a 10% chance here to come out on top.
You almost want to close your eyes. You kind of just don't want to watch it happen. Not again. Mongrel missing out on the Major 3 Grand Finals, but that's just the level of competition that we're dealing with. Mongrel has been knocked. Hijo, just a sliver of HP, trying to keep the dream alive. Literally 1 HP and a dream. And some footwork, apparently. Shixie gonna go right by. Hijo, this is the ultimate game of hide and go seek. His life is quite literally on the line. Almost takes out Glove for it, but the damage has been done. We are not going to be seeing Mongrel and his team in the Major 3 Grand Finals. A heartbreaking outcome for right now, Takada, because they're still the last chance qualifier.
Still possible, but a lot more difficult now for the big Grawl. Looking at Lone Wolf. ADN here trying to figure out what's the play. Another 1 versus 3.
Lone Wolf Lair hasn't really had a whole lot of overview at the starting point. We've just been seeing so many off-spawn contests from various positions on the map. Can't watch them all break down, but for Scary, Sean, Voldy, and Ford, this team has been very proactive in the early game, Takada. I mean, we've witnessed them find at least 1 or 2 teams, it seems like, to really just catch off guard, get those eliminations, but they might be on the receiving end for once. Kian continues kind of sneaking up here onto Scary Sean, also making sure to look back. Thought that he heard one of Scary's teammates. But Scary, he doesn't seem like he's even aware of the fact that this solo is still waiting for that opportunity to strike. Might even just be looking to wait things out. Kian knows I could maybe just look to play for a reboot, but took matters into his own hands. He just wants to go down fighting. And his wish might be Forge's command. As Ford will take that last elimination there. Now a solid 3. And Scary's gonna continue to just fan out there at Lone Wolf.
Benno taking the 1v1 that's soon gonna turn into a 3v1 here. The knock comes through. Now, Vico Venoflixi are in 9th, so technically qualifying range, but nowhere to be fully comfortable. It is top 10 that makes it through. We have names like Mr. Savage's trio in 11th, Podaside's trio in 12th, Cammy's in 14th, all outside of qualifying range. Now with only this last match to make something happen. It was devastating. What happened to Savage in the last game, but we're going to look at Fido, who was leading the pack to consistency just a moment ago, but now needing to secure their spot. These eliminations could do it.
These fights on the outskirts of the map, Raku, Fido, Cringe, they're hoping that they can come together, and the starting point could be finding some early eliminations. They clearly need more than that. Not a lot of builds. This fight has been drawn out for quite some time now. And Cringe kind of just recognizing this is no longer worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Let's just disengage. Gozia, Nazer, Lucky. They could still choose to just follow, but both of those teams kind of letting that engagement fizzle out.
Here we go, Mr. Savage Chat Reason from getting 3-2-1 to now doing the 3-2-1. Unfortunately, Kyrie wasn't able to get knocked, so now they are just going to close the gap a little further, pick up that dash sprite. And will they continue on forwards? It looks like they just might.
Kyrie's already had the chance, though, to reconvene with Casper and Prism. And Casper, Prism, they're just going to give their trio mate a chance to regulate his HP, heal up a bit. Reason spots out Prism by himself. Just going to close in onto the solo. But Reason, even with the shield crack, has to reload. Chap trying to help him follow up. Chap just looking to break through the builds. Trying to open up an angle there for Reason to take advantage of. And there's still Savage working his way around. Very easy to lose sight where some of Chap's teammates are actually making their way towards. Chap still building overhead. Casper a little bit trapped now, but Casper, Kyrie, Prism, they're doing a great job. Whenever one is holding one angle, the other immediately shifts to the next, but they slip up for a moment, and that's going to be enough damage done. Chap just trying to get into the box now. Going to force a Menace grenade, and that's going to be a slight pullback here. Chap now looking to shift his focus back onto Prism. Casper, Kyrie, still just tangling with Reason and Mr. Savage overhead. But it's been going on for quite some time now, Takada. Both sides burning an even amount of materials, but Casper, Kyrie, Prism, they were hoping to get some refarm going since they had already surge-based up, so they haven't had a chance to really gather as much material there as Savage's team.
Yeah, and although it's been going on for a while, there hasn't been any opposing kind of third-party trios getting close, but with the amount of damage that Savage, Chap, and Reason got, I think they're kind of happy with the outcome and are going to choose to disengage now. Don't want to take any further risks. Box, though. Loki and Tricks here are okay to get right on in, and after that initial knock, they're going to try and close it out as Vox does go down, but it looks like his teammates are going to be able to close it out.
Luckily enough for him, Tricks definitely holds strong here. Floki going to be the first one to be revived. A little bit of a messier exchange, but once you've already won the fight, that's all you really need. They can definitely recuperate everything that was lost from this point on.
It's a good way to kick things off, especially in that last match. You want to be able to just kind of focus on your positioning and route instead of constantly thinking about how to get enough damage. But speaking about getting enough damage, two of our most consistent trios of the day. Making sure to follow the meta.
Pink Nebs and Kiro have had a little bit more of a steady pace through the mid games, but it's been such a steep emphasis on positioning, and it has just been awesome to see that switch up. But zooming back in towards Outlaw Oasis, Peshka picks off Moneymaker, and these kinds of opening strides, it's a tough break there for the kid, but F9, Tidy, they're all just going to be collected as aftermath there. It's a dangerous game to play, but the last chance qualifier is sometimes going to be their best bets. Cammy, Hydra, Party though. Vico, Veno, Flixie have no idea what actually sits directly behind them. They're trying to be so stealthy about this. They waited for the Spire to play the distraction measures here. But Hydra, Cammy, Hardy, if they're not careful, if they don't secure this initial knock onto at least one of the members from the trio, this could 180 immediately.
Yeah, you gotta be careful here. As now the disengage is gonna come through. A lot of fights here by Brutal Box Cards throughout the day.
All right, chat, I'm back. Big Bob Jr.
Last chance in this match. Gonna make sure they're
All right, chat, I'm back. Big Bob Jr.
committing to anything. What I like about Vico Veno Flixie is even if the pressure's on, even if they're
What the world?
that is that last match, they're still not scared to take on fights.
Looked like Veno was setting some good tags there onto Cammy at the very end. Have to tune back in later, see whether or not Veno actually chooses to play that a little bit more aggressively with the rest of his team. But if you are sitting outside of that consistency metric for the leaderboard, switching things up, trying to take more aggressive roaming, that seems to be the intent here from Peshka. Still in Crime City, fighting things out, and Peshka, big shots. That knock onto Godoy could be all the difference here. Just needs to wait for that siphon to start playing a part. And Wuka definitely still healthy enough. They can delay this 1 versus 2 against Yin and Marvik, but all they want is to try and trade out for the double revive. That option's going to immediately be shut down, though, by Wuka. Smart play to wrap around, not give them the opportunity to bring their trio mate back into this.
Yeah, nice finish. 133 points is not enough to qualify yet, so they still need a pretty decent match here. Good way to start it off is 5 eliminations, though. After this, I don't think they have to play too aggressive anymore, as they can just kind of focus on rotating, but it's always tempting when it's a 3v2. Say, might as well just, pick up a couple more while we're at it. A few extra points. And it looks like that's what they want.
No risk, no story. You don't get out of 15th place without taking matters into your own hands. And CNN, ABC, Marvik. It's a valiant effort to draw out Pesha's team this far. But even with this kind of pull back, Peshka, they're still getting a solid application of surge damage. And They know that they can just hold this team on edge if they don't want to continue following them all the way back into Storm. It's very likely that Marvick and ABC are going to go for that last-ditch effort to play for the reboot van, but it is a very big uphill battle for them to bring it back.
That it is. I still feel the pain from the last match for Mr. Savage, Chap, and Reason. They were looking so comfortable on the leaderboard, but one hiccup is all it took to drop them out of qualifying range just by one placement in 11th. The good news is, you know, they've got a bit of loot. They're not in a fight. They are missing materials, but they should be able to get that as they're playing extra safe here in zone.
I almost feel like them being in 11th place heading into this lobby is worse mentally than if they were further out, because I feel like they're going to try and play this game so safe, and sometimes you just have to send it on a risk play. But deep inside of the Storm, even falling all the way back to their original starting point at Resistance Base, so clearly trying to just gather up whatever healing resources they'll be able to find, but you're going to eventually have to encounter some other teams pulling in from these fringe positions. Whether or not the situation got better, though, for ZNN, Marvick, and Godoy, does seem to be the case. One knock onto Psy. They're not the only team looking to play for reboots inside a Storm.
This change in elevation, too, doesn't make me too comfortable. If I was Tynox down below. For Marvick, though, and Co, they are going to do a good job of holding them if they want to keep on doing so. Issue is, zone is
They've got to go.
Yeah. Hopefully they, you know, take the safer option to head on out, but the Buell, Vexy, and Pixovsky. Not a lot of trios where they are.
What we're witnessing is the consequences of teams losing some of these early fights, so they're having to just run all the way back into the Storm. And they're also just hoping that there aren't teams looking for those dead side rotates that are going to be catching them along the way of making a play for these reboots. But it's now time that they've got to spend refarming materials, finding whatever white heals they can along the way, but they're just so far south of where everything else is going to be played from. And when you're actually thinking about, you know, those win conditions for the final lobby of the day, it's going to be quite the journey for this team. But it's something that they're willing to keep trying to move forward with. It's really all they've got left until they're fully eliminated.
Kind of happy with how this final zone turned out, though. Pretty dead center in the map, given an even chance for the players on the corners, you know, to make their way into zone. Like you mentioned, though, it really depends on how your early game went, depending on how soon you were able to start your rotations. A lot of trios playing inside of the Storm in this match.
Big Bob.
Vito Cringe. And we're Coup. 9-15 above. That's good.
We are drawing ever closer, though, to brutal boxcars, and since this is also the origin story there for Veno's team, no surprises that Veno, Vico, Flixie, just trying to control the flow state of teams around them. They love taking over priority positions inside of zone, even if it means like taking a little bit of Storm damage. They've got med-miss grenades to do so if they want to tank early Storm for boxing up into those better spots. And Flixie just getting whatever damage they can. They're already sitting 800 plus above. They're not fretting about the surge damage, but if you can have more, why not?
Exactly. You can never have too much surge, and they're showing exactly that. Cammy, eye drop, Hari, they went for height 2 separate games and held it on for a majority of the match, but even with their pretty consistent performance, it's still not been enough to put them in qualifying range. As it looks like Canyon is continuing to be a difficult position to get out of.
This is just boiled down to, if it's not me, it's not going to be you either kind of situation between these two teams, because There is no world where Vexy feels confident in being able to escape from this position and salvage this match for the rest of his team. Neo and Theanox also looking to try and shut down Vexy. They know that he's the last man standing for his team, and they've already invested so much time in this southern point of the map, Takata. You might as well finish what you started. 3 eliminations now for Neo and Theanox, but the recovery tour has really only just begun.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Hey, if we see them later on, I'll be impressed. But for now, Podesai, Art Skill, X-Squeeze, 12th place on the leaderboard, but they've made it to the end game. They have a good amount of loot, have a good amount of damage. Currently inside of the zone. They can't let anything go wrong here. The chemistry has to be at an all-time high. We want to see a French trio representing not only in the major finals, but, you know, the global championship later this year in France. Looking back over at Kiro, Pink, and Nebs also in a solid position.
As they have been all throughout the course of these 5 lobbies so far today, Takata. Pink has done a great job at just steering his team through solid entry points on the map, also making sure that they're one of the first to move so they don't get caught in any sort of clutter. And Pink had long staked out their next point of attack, also trying to make sure that they keep a good blockade from the line of sight from the teams that were boxed on top of the hill there. Few builds tossed back just to keep their angles covered, but Floki, Bosch, Trix could be dangerous there for Kiro. He's got to reunite, and they should be safe from this point on.
Hopefully. Hopefully. Rotate still coming through.
For right
Candy
now.
hurry, eye drop. Trying to kind of close that gap between the trios rotating on in. Using as much cover as possible. There's a little ridge there that Shixie's going to be able to use. They are going to choose to just sit in the bush, though. We've talked about it. Seti has gotten his spot alongside his trio in the major finals now. Will Cammy be able to do it? The best shot at it is right here, right now. Only 3 trios qualified to the last chance qualifier out of everybody participating, so you don't want to leave it up to that. Group 3 is where you want to make it happen. If you're participating today as Akira, Werix, and Kararma now getting incredibly low, but it looks like they made it to zone.
Come on, Savage wants more of those shots to connect. They need a little bit more surge here. Chap and Reason also trying to scout out any sort of additional tags, any kind of extra opportunities. But checking back in with where Pink, Kira, and Nebs were last spotted. They're making quick work of their position, that's for sure. Stormy Knight's team under duress. Nebs, Kira, Pink, content with where they're currently at. Podesai, Artskill, X-Squeeze. They just want to replicate the same level of success that they had even in the last lobby, Takata. That would be more than enough to get them across the finish line here and into the Major 3 Grand Finals. But Artskill, he recognizes his teammates a little bit too low. Podesai continuing to get tagged up here. Storm Surge takes working against them, but lucky that might be the save.
Good save. Good save.
Above now and can play for the double revive onto Artskill. They're not out the danger zone just yet. They still got to keep things pushing forward.
Huge impact with the dashes. They just acquired now a bit of safety as Vico Venoflixi 84 above. Despite the aggression, they're still getting quite close to that surge cutoff now, just trying to find any angle possible. Pink Nebs Kiro 228 above. Nice shots onto Casper, but the rotate is going to have to come through shortly. There is a potential of this zone going up the hill, up the mountain once again, so you don't want to be late to rotate here if it pulls double far.
And that's all that they've been waiting for. Cammy, Hadi, they're even going to tank a little bit of storm damage early on if it means getting them into the best position to deal with the rest of the lobby. Way overhead now. iDrop going to start looking back, going to start waiting for his opportunity. Doesn't have a whole lot of ammo, though. Ideally, Cammy or Hadi can drop.
See, Mr. Savage team still up.
On that Spire rifle, but
they need to get a top 5 finish, I think, to get in the top 10, I believe.
That elevation is going to be some huge leverage over the rest of this lobby. Savage, Chap, and Reason, though, big elimination onto
2 eliminations,
Fortunately for him, Pink and Kyoto are still up and running. They can definitely try to just buy time, a little bit more placements. They've had such a consistent day already, Takata. They're not really in any heavy threat to lose their spot in the leaderboard.
All they need to do is clutch up a few extra points to secure that spot. They're right on the edge currently. Vico Benoflixi picking up one more. Cammy gonna see if they can go for it. Third time's the charm. As Vico Benoflixi only 8 above are gonna be forced to look for some angles here.
Big Bob Jr. is Pino. Or, I don't know. That's confusing me. It both starts with a B.
Just trying to get whatever damage they can. Having lost Nevs, that was a good chunk of their surge.
Venno.
Into thin air. Kyoto, Pink. Got a good... Oh, Kyoto gonna be forced to drop all the way to ultimate low. He's just trying to play catch up to Pink now. Pink gonna be forced into using a Medmis grenade here. Tragedy as Kyoto gets dropped in the process of trying to reconnect with him too. But he's still looking to try and stick this revive. He might actually manage to pull it off. Everyone else just so preoccupied with separate fights that they're going to be able to squeeze through the cracks there. Remain unnoticed. Cammy, iDrop, Potty, though, this is a big game for them. Playing from height. Savage, he might have just found some trouble.
Issue is zone pull far. Not sure if they're going to have enough mats to hold on to height. This would be a perfect time to retake it. But with the change in elevation, it makes it that much more difficult to look for height. As now all these players are forced to drop down low. Flixi, Venno, Vico continuing to look strong. Savage getting on ahead.
Venno, yeah. V-E-N-O, Venno. Okay, Big Bob Jr.
Are they going to Podesai and his trio? Cammy's still holding on.
Vico doesn't have a whole lot of mats, though. They're going to hold tight in secondary height. They're just going to take advantage of the teams underneath that get caught off guard. Stormy Right has fallen. Vico, though, having to fight his way through this. And he can feel the walls closing in around him. It's only Vico and Flixi. Venno has been eliminated. Flixi gonna get cut off here. Miscall trapped inside the box. He does find an opening to escape. Front side low though. They are not healthy and Flixi.
Oh no, I'm just gonna call him Bob.
Vico by himself. Only 5. Make that 4 builds left. Burn through.
Vico.
Catches Keaton. He thought the loot was free, but it's never free and Vico knows it best. Working through backside of zone, but that material count is going to buy him so much time.
That impact was everything for Vico, Venno, and Flixi. They might not even be qualified yet. Still a few more points needed to be secured alongside Mr. Savage as well. 177 is not going to be enough, but up above, it is going to be Podesai, X-Swedes, and Artskill. They're looking to take height from Cammy. They might have just done it as Vico is continue to clutch it out as a solo.
Mr. Savage also tunneling his way through that secondary height, but high ground itself belongs to France.
Teams remaining.
Artskill, X-Squeeze, way up above. They still got the Medmis grenade to work with too. They're gonna let that heal themselves up before they start dropping some of these lower layers, start playing.
Come on, Bob.
Features. Vico still burning through materials, but as a solo, he's done an excellent job. He's buying so much time. That pullback also gonna do him a solid here.
Cammy.
But the high ground just keeps getting toppled over. Podesai eliminated. Kyrie, Casper, Prism. They've gone for the overthrow, and with them now in control of high ground, but they don't have the material, Takata.
They don't, and what they need, it might be the victory royale. I don't even know if a second place is going to be enough for them. Cammy with 168, they need more points, but a player right in their box doesn't even matter. Free elimination pumped up to 174, getting closer and closer to being in qualifying range, but no more materials as Hari and Cammy are going to be forced down low, but who's waiting for them? It's Mr. Savage, it's Chapp, left as a duo, continuing to push on forwards.
Mr. Savage, he's going to need to come up huge here. Cammy just surfing overhead.
Ooh, Cammy goes down. Savage goes down. Bob is still clutching. Come on, Bob.
He's coming up, a one-man army here. Vico from overhead. He got the knock. He's waiting for the siphon.
Oh! 1v1.
It may have been the difference for Venno's team.
Dang, the fall damage. Trexer's gonna win it. GG's, what an end game. Wow, chat. W's all the way around, chat.
Second place was not enough 2 med kits. They were able to get it after the heal off. What a way to close it out. It can't feel much better than qualifying through the VR when it was your only option to make it to the finals.
And the mental fortitude that they have to work with there too, because when they lost treatment, I think so many other teams would just immediately be like, all right, that's wraps it, it's over. Like, there's no way, surely, but they still just made it happen. They trusted on their intuition. Trexer just had no other choice but to hope that that medkit would be the difference.
They're in Mapister.
Close it out for Trexer. Was also just on the borderline of qualifying.
Question is, do we got the LCQ list yet?
Right inside that top 10, needing a decent match, made it to the end game. It has been an incredible run in these groups. It has been a pleasure to commentate these matches alongside Taco. That's it for us, but we still have to break it down on the desk. So Frankie, Levin, Mini, let us know if we missed anything.
Imagine being in 21st on the leaderboard and managing to pull off a victory royale like that. And Trexer, Mappy, and Cheating were able to do just that, Mini Miner.
Yeah, great performance from these guys. They hadn't even managed to hold top 10 in the whole day, so the fact they were able to clutch up in that very last game to make it happen, even trusting that medkit there at the end, it's so easy to try and, maybe try and find the other opponent to try and take them out, but they had the trust. It's what they needed. I don't think they could have qualified elsewhere at 11, so really great performance from these guys.
No, absolutely. At the start of the day, Frankie, you asked me, were there any other teams I thought could maybe surprise people and qualify through? And I said these guys, they didn't perform particularly well all day, but the reason why they were a team I had on my radar was because of the pop-off potential. If you're familiar with these three, you know there's firepower there, you know they have the ability to come through in games like this and just make their mark, and they do it at such a pertinent time. Big congratulations to them. Can't wait to see them in the major final.
Huge.
Oh, yeah.
Let's remind ourselves of the other teams that got themselves a victory royale today. If you cast your minds back to game 1, Clownsky, Gabix, and Waze, they made holding the high ground look easy, Levin.
Absolutely. Right? Easy as you do it. Probably the easiest hype game they'll have all season long. I promise you, boys, next weekend's going to be a bit harder than that, but still, they'll be absolutely.
Yeah, and I think looking down the list, I think there's a lot of names on here that we maybe wouldn't have expected. I think things didn't go as expected for some of our bigger names. Of course, Swizzy, Queasy, and Moustache, a team that we'd expect to get a win, but not necessarily in the same manner that they did. It was a little bit of a difficult game for them, but...
All right, who's the shoe-ins?
...pull through, so I'm excited to see the consistency.
I'm constantly thinking now, boys, about who has made it onto the consistency leaderboard. We're just checking that over. We'll have that with you shortly. Do you think, though, Levin, that Vico, Veno, and Flixie made it?
I hope they did.
But there's other people I'm looking at as
Mr. Savage, too. That's who I'm hoping that made it, too.
It was really tough for them, but Vico did incredibly well there to really clutch up some points towards the end. I mean, there were just so many people.
Third place, too.
Props to the commentators throughout the end there, because there's just so many names who were close, who needed the points, who needed the win, and you're just on the edge of your seat, Mini.
Yeah, it was really nail-biting stuff here at the end. So many of our teams that needed to do well were in the same sort of situation. For Vico, Ven, and Flixie, I don't think there's any doubt in our minds that they would qualify today, so it'll be interesting to see if they do actually make it in there, but they needed all 5 games to make it happen.
200 IQ move right there.
These guys by their standards at the beginning of the day, and then, I don't know what happened, it just clicked. Something switched in their team, in their brains, that they figured out how to play this lobby, and from game 3 onwards,
took down Savage.
Second, fourth,
that fall damage right there really hurt him.
And here is...
Did they make it? Yes! Did Mr. Savage? Yes! Both of them made it. Let's go. Mr. Savage and Vino's team made it. Pete, the GOAT's team made it too. Let's go. That's what's up right there. Kuruma. Dude, what an in-game.
They did it by as well, so, I mean, they needed all of that clutch in that last game. 11 huge performance from those.
All right, what about the LCQ? Are we going to get that today?
To be in the major finals, they didn't make it easy for themselves, but they got there in the end. That's all that matters.
Hey, Minnie, what did they say, man? Pressure? What pressure? Pressure's the tires, man. Come on, man. This Mr. Savage, they've been doing this We get to see them in the major finals. None of that last chance nonsense. None of that. None of that for them. They get to go straight through to the week, and I'm happy for the boys.
Can I just say, last chance qualifier is not going to be nonsense. We've got some big names in there. We've got Cammy is definitely going to be playing, and I know there's going to be a lot of people scared.
202 points. Remember that, chat. 202 points. Oh, Cringe and them missed it by 1 point. 1 point.
Any other names you think are going to
That's crazy, chat.
in the last chance qualifier or have picked this
Cammy, 14th.
Look, you can never.
They missed it by 28 points.
The gentlemates are going to be eagerly waiting for that last chance qualifier. Art Skill, Podesai, Exweeze, they will be there. They will be ready to fight for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Demon's Domain for those guys, I'm sure will be their drop spot for that. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. They've been able to clutch up in the past. They needed it, so I think they need all the M8 fans to be on their side for the last chance. It's going to be tough for them, but I have all faith in them.
We are going to be chilling during those last chance qualifiers. We're going to be getting the popcorn out. The question is, though, guys, whose watch parties are you going to be hanging out in? Levin.
Ooh, I'd say, look, I'm friends with too many watch parties, but there's so many to choose from. Do you know what I'm saying? If you want the English vibe, you might watch an Aussie Antics, you might watch a Coach Boop, you might watch a Motor. If you're French, you want to watch Nikoff, watch the boys, maybe Havoc, you want to watch them. Who else I might be watching? For NA, I will be watching NA as well. Shout out to Fax and them, man, you know. I'll be watching them.
Hey, 5 o'clock tonight. 2.5 hours, chat, and we'll be back at it. So we gotta see if we got LCQs.
Germany.
How can I forget? How can I forget my guy Amar? You gotta be watching Amar if you're German speaking, man. Even if you're not German speaking, you can watch Amar. It'll be good fun.
Mini Money's got no one left to choose.
Well, I know, there's none left. I'm just going to have them all open at once and just watch them all at the same time. I'm going to have like 18 monitors looking at every single POV. It's going to be great. But yeah, I'm excited for the last chance. Always good vibes, good fun. And of course, it's 3 games, right? So all teams need is to get 1 VR and get themselves in. It is truly last chance saloon. So super excited for it.
It's going to be so exciting. Make sure you hang out at one or multiple of those many watch parties we've just mentioned on Wednesday and Thursday. It's going to be totes and mosh. For now, though, let's say goodbye to Levin, Mini Miner, Taco, and Takata. Stick around because in a couple of hours' time, we will have the North American broadcast. And don't forget,
we'll be here. Chat, so make sure y'all come back. We'll be right here at it.
So set your watches, mark it in your calendars. For now, though, it's goodbye from us. Let's sound that horn.
Alright, chat. I hope y'all enjoyed tonight's stream, or today's stream. Remember, here in about 2.5 hours, we'll be right back at it with NA Central from Peter Bite's lobby. Peter Bite's going to be in it, so we all know who y'all going to be pulling for the whole time. But anyways, come back. Catch us there, and let's enjoy one last regular Major 3s before they start with the LCQs and the finals. This finals will get them into, if I'm thinking correctly, will get them into the championship lobby. So y'all come back, enjoy that tonight. Remember, if you're new to the channel, hit that like, subscribe, and alert button. Other than that, y'all take care. God bless. Catch y'all all in the next one.